Good evening.
Oops, sorry.
Cassie, can you record? All set?
Okay, what, I forget what I do.
For your volume? Turn off your- Okay, great. Let's try that again. Good evening. Welcome to the September 11th, 2025 Northampton School Committee meeting. I'm Jean Louise Sherrod, Chair of the School Committee. I'll be presiding this evening. This meeting is being held both remotely on Zoom pursuant to the modification of the state's open meeting law for the pandemic and in person here in the community room at JFK Middle School. This meeting and all participating will be audio and video recorded. And I will begin by asking Cassie to please call the roll of the school committee.
Mayor Shara?
Present.
Yes, here.
Member Weissenfreund?
Here.
Member Seraphy Cox?
Present.
Member Stein? Member Hennessy?
Present.
Member Miller? Member LaBounty?
Oh,
Can't unmute.
Present. I got it. Thanks.
Member Agna?
Present.
Member Davis?
Present.
We have a quorum.
great. And Member LaBounty is participating on Zoom. And first up, we have, actually, Member Miller was going to do the school committee norms, but she's not here yet. So,
She's going to be remote.
oh,
On.
Is she trying to get on?
okay. Well, let's
get on.
let's go ahead to the student representative report. Hi, welcome.
Hi. Thanks for having me. I know you all know me, but I'm Anna Lucia Ohm, and I'm the school committee representative for this school year. There's not really too much going on since the school year just started, but there's always something we can update on. At the beginning of the school year, we had assemblies, grade-wide assemblies with the principals to just update on policies and review them. So we talked about policies like attendance, parking, flex, phones, and a new AI policy. As you know, I'm on student union, so we're really excited about elections. And in 2 weeks, the freshmen will have their election to see who's going to be on student union and student government. So if you know any freshmen, you should tell them to run for anything. Tomorrow is the first football game. We're really excited, and you should come support the football team, the band, and have some fun. Tomorrow's also picture day, so everyone will be dressed nicely, probably. And some student union things. On September 29th, we're having a forum for the mayoral candidates, city council, at-large city council candidates, and any contested school committee candidates. And that's from 6 to 9 in the NHS auditorium. We're really excited about it, and it's something we've been working hard on. And we mentioned this last year, and I emailed you all about this, but last year when we presented the survey results from the survey we send out every year, people had some suggestions for questions that we did not write down, but we were wondering if any of you had any questions that you wanted us to ask on the survey regarding NHS. And yeah, that's it.
By when do you need those questions?
The sooner the better, as is with everything, but we don't have a set date, but probably like by October-ish.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Anna Lucia? Yeah.
Just a note that the
I don't know why that's happening.
I don't know. note that the field hockey game is also tomorrow, perhaps during the same time as the football game.
I think it's like a little earlier.
A little earlier.
Yeah.
And then just an offer that it's possible that our minutes from that meeting might have either the questions or all of our meetings are recorded and put on YouTube.
Yeah.
So they're not the most scintillating watching, but presumably it would be at the beginning part of the meeting.
That's a great suggestion. Thank you.
Yeah.
Member LaBounty.
Thank you. And yes, as well as I think it's by around 6:30, the Booster Club will be selling concessions. So depending on when the field hockey game ends, you can come then. We are this year taking Venmo, Cash App, Apple Pay, and of course cash. So bring all your forms of payment and your appetite. We will have pizza and hot dogs and popcorn and all kinds of things. So come support your athletes. And is there any way to get my head off that huge screen? It's terribly, terribly disturbing to see
Come on,
while I'm sitting here. I don't know if there's a way to do that, but that would be fabulous for me.
Sorry, you're the last one to talk, so your head will
When
remain.
you don't come to the meeting.
Yeah.
And bring pizza. Pizza, exactly.
Any other questions or comments for Ana Lucia? No? Okay, thank you.
Oh,
Oh, I'm sorry.
I just have should I be on MPS IT2
I don't think you're going to answer that.
or MPS guest?
Thank you.
I can't get on to Zoom.
I do have one
Oh, I should
quick
go on.
question.
Yes.
I was told about a thing from Parent Square that was sent out to parents about the phone policy and was wondering if students are going to be on the ad hoc group.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah, students should let us know if they're interested.
Cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Okay. So we had intended to do the executive session up top in the meeting, but it's on the agenda a little bit later. If the committee agrees to moving it up, any objections to moving executive session to now? Yeah.
Yeah, I would say no, for me personally, only because I think if people are scheduling their night around some public comment first.
Oh, public comment.
What?
I
agree.
just saying out loud what you just said.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay, that's what I would.
Okay. All right, so then how about public comment and then executive session? Yeah.
That's great.
Okay. Then in that case, we will move on to public comment. And we're taking it in person and over Zoom. There's a sign-up sheet. And for those on Zoom, if you wish to make a comment, please use the raise hand feature, and I'll try and alternate between in the room and on Zoom. You can always submit a written public comment, which is equally part of the public record at Northampton-School-Committee at northampton-k12.us. And it'll be sent to all school committee members. Thank you, Cassie. And before you begin your comment, please state your name and your city or town for the public record. The school committee does not respond during public comment, as it's the public's time to speak. So while your comments should be directed to the school committee, you'll understand when we don't respond to them. There's a limit of 3 minutes per person unless language interpretation or accommodation for a communications disability has been requested, in which case the time limit is 6 minutes. And I'll set a timer to ensure everyone has an equal opportunity to speak. And according to our rules of procedure, school committee receives public comment for a maximum of 90 minutes. And we will be beginning at 6:20. And the first person on the list is Cindy Mahoney.
Good evening. My name is Cindy Mahoney, and I live in Florence. Tonight's agenda includes the approval and acceptance of the Northampton Bullying Intervention Policy. Districts are required to report bullying to DESE annually, including the number of reported allegations of bullying or retaliation, the number and nature of substantiated incidents, and the number of students disciplined for engaging in bullying. It is puzzling that in the 23-24 school year, there was only one incident listed for Northampton. I can show that to you if you want. Northampton Public School staff are aware of what constitutes bullying. However, intervention plans and concomitant safety plans can only be implemented with adequate staffing. A student with a disability who is more likely to be targeted does not have their assigned ESP, or a student with behavioral concerns does not have their assigned ESP, then vulnerable students are left open to bullying. Given the PRS findings and the case report, which indicates a lack of trust in district administration, how can a parent trust that all staff in a school building are aware of a student safety plan? Next week, as open houses begin, principals and district-level administrators should spend a few minutes talking with families about bullying and how to report it. There is information in the Code of Conduct, but that's a dense document to read. Where on the website is this document available in other languages? Do all families know where the bullying form is on the Northampton website? It is available in English and Spanish, but what about other languages? This, too, is a dense document to read. Do families know that they don't have to use the form and that bullying can be reported verbally or via email? Do all families know who to report incidents to? On page 20 of the bullying form, which is the investigation form, it asks, is behavior or incident potentially motivated by the victims? And then check any that apply. One of the categories lists disability/SPED, actual or perceived. Please consider changing SPED to something less derogatory, such as student with an IEP or 504. Because students with disabilities are more likely to be targeted, CPAC hosted a webinar in the fall of '24 on bullying. For families who have been impacted by bullying or wish to learn more, Massachusetts Advocates for Children has excellent resources on bullying. At this time, Northampton is also currently reviewing its cell phone policy. Cyberbullying is another serious issue to consider in implementing a phone policy that will limit these types of harmful interactions during a school day. We cannot ignore that toxic social media bullying at the national level has also trickled down to our own community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you interested in the print of the report?
Sure, that would be great to have it in the record also, but thank you. Okay. Anyone else in the, Scarlett, or were you gonna? Okay. All right, anyone else for public comment? Lisa Modenos.
Thank you. Lisa Modinos, Florence. In the candidate forum last month, when asked about the DESE report that found our district in violation of IEPs, the mayor said, quote, "The mayor is one member of the school committee. There are 9 other members. And me as the mayor and my other colleagues on the school committee, along with the superintendent, are really going to have to work harder and collaboratively to make sure that we're allocating our resources in a way that ensures that we meet all the needs and that we're meeting IEPs. Those are obligations that we must meet, and we have a moral obligation to meet them." End quote. So out of the 9 colleagues on the school committee that you mentioned, Mayor, 8 voted for the strong budget. You voted against it, as did Member Davis, who consistently voted in line with the mayor her entire tenure as school committee member. Davis is also running for City Council Ward 5. If you care about public education, don't vote for her. After the school committee voted for the strong budget, the mayor uncollaboratively submitted it without recommendation to the city council. Political move to hinder the vote. Another political move was your use of the word collaborative. Just another dog whistle to defend your backlash of our challenges to you and the rest of your establishment in the last year and a half related to your budget choices. You claim you have a moral obligation, Mayor, to meet the needs of disabled children. You also have a legal one, and Northampton has been found liable for breaking the law. Also, according to DESE, 44.1% of the students in our district are high needs. That's almost half of the children in our district, defined as either low income, economically disadvantaged, English learner or former English learner, or a student with disabilities. When these categories intersect and overlap, the needs are even more tangible. And the mayor's austerity and budget choices are even more violent upon these children, their brains and bodies, and their potentials. Budget cuts are equity issues, and budgets are moral documents, Mayor. and you have shown your morality. It prioritizes savings over disability rights, private equity and development over public education, and capital over children. Families like mine and others in the CPAC, over 700 IEPs in this district, by the way, a percentage higher than the state average, will struggle, and many will fight battles you don't hear about or see because we've been pushed so far to the margins, there's no light here for you to see us. But we're here, even in the dark, and we vote. And the public should vote too in the preliminaries on Tuesday, September 16th. Vote for change, vote for disabled children, and vote for public education. Your buddies, Mayor, those multiple property-owning landlords, developers, architects, wealthy folks in town with their big houses that throw campaign parties, private college presidents, radio talk show hosts, lawyers, and realtors who support you, and their letters to the editor supporting you and others who will rubber stamp your policies, they will all be fine under new leadership. I promise you, they'll be just fine. It's the rest of us who need and require and demand change and will vote accordingly. That's our moral obligation to the children of Northampton. We can no longer rely on yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Next is Masaborski.
Melissa Makaborski, I live in Northampton. I have a big,
You've muted. You're muted.
okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. If I have a very big smile on my face, it's for two reasons. The first one is Lisa Modenos. Thank you so much for that comment. I don't think that there's anything I could say at this point that she didn't say. I'm just going to say a couple of things. If people are noticing that this year is different in Northampton for the election, we did this. The community did this. Everybody here who's watching, this was us. Parents, students, teachers, the actual people who live here in Northampton, we did this. And we should all be very, very proud. As we all know, we have this election coming up, the preliminary election on September 16th. We're all going to get out, we're going to vote, we're going to make our voices heard. Cindy Mahoney was mentioning about bullying, which I was really happy to hear her address that. And I just want to take a quick second to acknowledge the bullying that has happened in Northampton in the past year and a half. And everyone here knows exactly what I'm talking about. When we go to the polls, many people before us have fought hard and people have died for the right to vote in a democracy. When you go to that poll, the bullies don't come in with you. You have that moment to make your own choice. What's best for your children, what's best for all of our children, not just a few children, every single one of them. And we have a chance to actually change the course of how things are going in this city, which we all know what we need to do here. This is not going the right way. So let's all get out there. We absolutely can do this. Everybody, please go out, look at the facts. If you have any questions, please ask. Don't make your decision based on rumors. There's way too many rumors out there. We've got this. Everybody, please get out and vote. Thank you.
Okay. Zara, did you want to speak?
Hi, I'm Zara's mom. I live in Florence. So I just wanted to talk about our AI policy or lack thereof. I'm not actually, forgive me for being uneducated on this, but I'm not actually sure whether or not the district has an AI policy, but I think we really need one. It's become increasingly apparent to me that the amount of student-generated work has just gone down and down and down. And I know our principal really disagrees with me on this. And our AI policy in school is, use it as a tool and make sure you're disclosing your usage of it. But I really think that we should be making it abundantly clear and outlining this is what's allowed and this is what isn't allowed. And if you're caught doing this, this is going to happen, because I think it's very unclear and there's so much gray area that's on a teacher by teacher basis and it's not consistent. And we've seen historically that things that are inconsistent don't work in implementation. So I really urge you to create a really standardized policy so that we can all refer to it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Okay, seeing none, we, oh, wait, hold on, someone's raising their, okay. There you go, you're unmuted.
Okay, sorry, I've never done this before.
That's okay. No worries.
Good evening. My name is Jamie Kaplan, and I live in Florence. I have two children, one who graduated from Northampton High School and one who is 17 and has been in an out-of-district placement since first grade. I'm speaking tonight to advocate for my child, my family, and all out-of-district students and their families. My purpose tonight is not to complain or to change my child's placement. My purpose is to bring to light this small community within our larger community. These students are among the most vulnerable members of our community. They deserve to be seen as children with hopes, challenges, and potential, not as an expensive line item in a budget. When we talk about education, we're talking about equity, responsibility, and our shared future. Out-of-district students and their families face enormous challenges, huge expenses, and barriers to participation and inclusion in community life. Out-of-district students need the support and specialized programming they receive in schools designed to meet their needs. These schools are often the most inclusive spaces for children like mine. To ignore them or to reduce them to cost is to deny their humanity and our collective duty to support every child. My sense is that high-needs students placed out of district are not well understood, and that the experiences of their families, both within this district and in their out-of-district schools, is not widely known. I would be glad to offer my time and perspective to help this committee better understand those realities. I urge this committee to remember that the measure of Northampton is how it treats its most vulnerable members. Please make decisions that honor our children's dignity, protect their right to a free and appropriate education, and reflect the values of inclusion and fairness that I believe should define our schools and our community. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Is there another one? Okay, thank you. Mr. Jashnani?
Hi, good evening all. You are in charge of this district. Recently, the State Department of Ed, DESE, issued findings for a district-wide complaint that I filed. It found repeated violations of disability laws with regard, DESE found repeated violations of disability laws with regard to my child in an investigation earlier this year. Now, in August, they found systemic violations of numerous state disability laws across the district. This is your responsibility, and you have not shouldered it. You failed in your obligations to our city and our children. This is what the state has said. Specifically, the district failed to provide required support staff for nearly 1 out of every 6 students that require them at JFK. You similarly violated countless IEPs at Bridge Street School. This is no longer me saying it, it's the state. The investigation also determined that the district has not met the state's minimum requirements district-wide for child find. That's your legal obligation to identify and evaluate students who might need special education services. Parents, teachers, and students raised these concerns publicly throughout the last school year at school committee meetings. Because you all as school committee have been unable to follow the law, the state has ordered immediate corrective action and oversight. Hopefully you already know this. What I want to say is that the state is telling us that our district and our local government, including this body, are not following the law and not allowing disabled students to learn. I say our local government in part because when I first learned my child's IEP was being violated almost every day, it was a teacher who was kind enough to blow the whistle. She had asked the principal why no one was being hired to fulfill the IEP, and what she told me was that the principal said, quote, "for financial reasons." Teachers, parents, and others have been saying for over a year that Northampton is violating state and federal disability laws on a daily basis. Our administrators have lied in school committee meetings saying none of this is happening, saying there are not widespread problems, while Mayor Chiara has done the same in order to justify cutting school staffing and resources year after year. This report is further proof that we need leadership who can tell us the truth and follow the law. I feel vindicated by the DESI report, not because it documents the ableism that we already knew was happening, but because it requires you to take concrete, basic steps in order to force compliance with disability law, steps that you've been unwilling to take in the face of overwhelming evidence and what we have been telling you are widespread harms. 2 weeks before that, on August 8th, I got a report from you, from the district, with regard to disability rights violations against my own child. The district said no policies were violated, despite the existence of a transcript that the special education director submitted to the state, which included statements, among other things, that the district would, quote, "go to war with me and my family," immediately before pulling my child's full-time paraeducator with no notification or explanation provided. I was upset when I got the report from you, but not surprised. The district has repeatedly violated state and federal laws and refused to take responsibility for its basic legal and educational obligations at every step of the way. Back in April, I sent an email to the school committee, including the mayor, the chair, that in part asked them to investigate the special education director, as well as others, for potential retaliation. The mayor's response was to forward my email to the same special education director, clearly not an appropriate way to handle a request for an investigation. I hope you all can agree. Just before I had an IEP meeting with the same special education director about my child. Is that a reasonable or responsible way to run the school committee, to handle complaints? Regarding the investigation, as you know, I asked that you all, rather than handling it in-house or spending thousands of dollars, that you contact a responsible state agency, like DESI or like the state attorney general's office, that could have handled it. Instead, you ignored my wishes, went through an entire internal investigation, only to throw it away, again without explanation, and start over with an incompetent outside lawyer who didn't seem to even understand basic disability law. To do this, the district, I just learned today, spent $38,000, not including August spending, just for the second investigation to get a sloppy second-rate report. Let me say, just to be very clear and give you some specifics, the lawyer seemed to lack a basic grasp of disability law, inaccurately determining that I'm not a protected class under federal law. It took me literally 10 minutes with Google, the Federal Department of Ed website, and on the phone with the legal nonprofit to confirm that this was wrong and that I am protected by federal law as a person helping someone else to exercise their rights under the ADA. I then verified this with a second lawyer with expertise in this area. I won't go into detail here, I don't want to bore you, but what I do want to say is that you failed your legal obligation, this lawyer failed his legal obligation, and the investigation was more or less cut in half by that incorrect finding. Once again, shirking responsibility. A significant portion of the investigation that needed to be conducted was not based on that foundational error. And there are a few other areas I won't go into, but importantly, one more that I do want to name is the statement about going to war with me and my family. Is that 6 minutes?
That is 6 minutes.
Great. Was explicitly ignored in this report. The report is a joke,
Finish your sentence.
especially side by side with the state's own finding that my child's rights were repeatedly and numerously violated and I hope you can conduct
Thank
an
you.
effective and accurate investigation.
Thank you. Waverly.
Walking on from
Request an accommodation? So, as Dr. Makaborski, very respected and beloved pediatrician in our community, said earlier, we are on the eve of a historic election. And I know that I came here and I told all of you the same thing maybe a year ago, that we weren't in a normal cycle. We were in a time that looks like something we haven't seen for 30 years. And I don't know if you believed me then, but now the newspapers are telling you we haven't seen anything like this in 30 years. And I know that so many of you were part of that change 30 years ago, that you wanted to see investments in our schools, that you wanted to see a progressive government. And that's why you were so activated, right? And it took a couple of election cycles to get where you wanted to be. And even then, there was some discord between the first progressive mayor and the old HAMP council. And so then it became a priority to make sure that we would have a progressive council, right, who would allow our mayor to do the work that she needed to do. When you stay on a track for so long that you miss important details, the pendulum can swing too far. And so, for example, with that track of trying to support a mayor so much, we've swung too far. We're not providing enough checks and balances as counselors, as school committee members, maybe even as voters. And similarly, financially, we started on a track where we realized we needed to build up reserves, right? We weren't in a good economic place, and we worked really hard on that. But we continue down that track. We continue to do that same thing as though things haven't changed, as though it's not time to start spending the money that we asked the community to invest in our government so that we could meet their needs. And it troubles me when I hear that the mayor says things like 55% of the city budget is going to the public schools, because it's not, right? That figure includes charter school spending. It includes benefits, which is fine. Those are school employees, but other departments don't have those in their line items, and you don't either. It includes Smith Folk, which is fine. That's a school district, but it's a school district that sees better investment per students than we do. It includes 22 other revenue sources that are not part of our general operating budget. It includes money from the state that we can't spend on anything else. And so what we're really left with is a 30% investment from our budget in schools, not 55% in these public schools that we're talking about, that we're so concerned about. And when I hear the mayor say things like, she's increased the school spending by 30%, guess what else increased by 30%? All of the other spending in the city, right? And that's not said at the same time. That's an intentional cherry picking. And I just don't understand why there are some of you who are campaigning for the mayor. You know, if you're really here to serve the school, the very least you could do is have the respect for the community that you wanted 30 years ago, to allow there to be change to help people. What are we holding on to so tightly? What are we so afraid of? Why do we have to make things personal? And what does it take for us to understand that we are not meeting basic needs, right? It's not just the schools. And I respect that you have made your votes for the strong budget. I really appreciate that. That was important to helping the community have this galvanizing moment. We needed something to rally behind. We needed to have hope. And you gave it to us. The April 11th meeting a couple years ago was just huge, and that's really where this all started. But how can you help us right now with elections on Tuesday and again in November? How can you help continue the things you wanted to have happen in this city, the seeds that you planted? And how can you pull back from things that maybe are actually not the direction you wanted to go in? You know, it's not enough to say we're a Democrat. It's not enough to say we're a progressive. It's really about our actions. And you have legacies to protect. You do. You've put in time and you've put in work. And everybody here wants to work with you. Nobody wants to cast anyone out of the community. But more than anything, we want the vulnerable people in our community to get what they need. And we really ask you to join us. We don't ask you to be our adversaries. But we have to use the mechanisms we have, which are electoral. And if we can't see change from people holding seats, we have to try to change who are sitting in those seats. So I just want you to understand that. We've been on a long journey together. I'm running out of time. I appreciate what you have done for us. I really do. And I hope you'll be very thoughtful over the next week and next 2 months about what you're saying to your friends.
That's 6
and what
minutes.
you're doing for our community. Thank you.
Are you interested in speaking? Okay. Okay. Then, so we had discussed moving up the executive session to now. Is everyone still in agreement with that? I'm looking at, so Member Miller, I don't think you were on when we talked about this. We were going to move executive session to the next item and then come back into open session, as long as everyone agrees. Member LaBounty, did you agree with that? Okay. Everyone in the room? Okay, would someone like to make a motion to enter executive session, please? Anyone need a hand?
I will make a motion. I will make a motion. That we. What? I'm afraid I'm going to buzz like you were.
I know.
I will make a motion to enter executive session pursuant to MGL C30A. Am I on the right one?
You need both of them?
Yeah.
Yeah.
21A7 to comply with or act under the authority of any general or special law or federal grant and aid requirements, purpose 7, for the purpose of reviewing and approving executive session minutes to comply with the open meeting law, GL 30A 22FG.
Great. And can you do the?
Yeah, I'm trying to get to that one. Sorry, my computer.
The other one if you want.
Are you on the next one?
Executives, I'll do it.
Great, thank you. It's not coming up.
Executive session under purpose number 2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions. And purpose number 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body and the chair so declares, specifically to review, discuss, and possibly vote to ratify the draft tentative agreement changes to the 2025-2028 collective bargaining agreements with NACE Units B, E, and F.
Okay, so motion's been made and seconded?
Yeah.
Yes, we'll say made by Member Hennessy, seconded by Member Agna.
Sure.
Any discussion? No. Okay, roll call, please.
Member Gacy?
Yes.
Member Weisenfreund?
Yes.
Member Seraphy Cox?
Yes.
Member Stein? Member Hennessy?
Yes.
Member Miller?
Yes.
Member LaBounty?
Yes.
Member Agna?
Yes.
Member Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Shara?
Yes. Okay, so we will be entering executive session. We will come back into open session in this room when we are done. Okay, we are back. And thank you everyone who stuck around or anyone who's joined us. And we are moving on to the next item on our agenda. Actually, we're going to go back to item number 3, which are the school committee norms, because I believe Member Miller, were you going to present?
Yes, although I'm going to have to do this a little spontaneously.
I believe in you.
Always good.
Having reviewed all the norms, all of which I think we should focus on, however, there's 2 that I think we should highlight. One is brevity. I believe that all of us tend to go on and on. And I think we need to all remind ourselves that brevity and planning what we're going to say and using as much brevity as possible facilitates a better meeting. The other one is, and again, I'm being a little spontaneous because I don't have it in front of me, is the one about that all expression of thought should be directed at other thoughts and not people. That we not direct our feelings and thoughts about people, it's about ideas. And that we should stay focused on expressing our thoughts about the ideas. And those are the 2 that I wanted to highlight. I'm really sorry that I'm being a little off the cuff because I'm really impaired at the moment.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I just saw your arm. That was perfect. Thank you. Okay, we will move to announcements. Anyone have any announcements? Okay, seeing none, let's move on to recommended actions. I will list the recommended actions and then ask if there are any removals because there's no discussion. Meeting minutes for August 14th, 2025. And June 12th, 2025, those were the revised meeting minutes. Any removals on those?
Yes, I have a couple of comments about the August 14th minutes, please.
Okay. Then someone want to make a motion on the June 12th?
Second it.
Motion is made by member Gazy, seconded by member Agna. Roll call, please.
Okay. I believe we're at member Hennessy. Member Miller.
Yes.
Member LaBounty.
Yes.
Member Agna.
Yes.
Member Davis.
Yes.
Mayor Shara.
Yes.
Member Gazy. Yes. Member Weissenfreund.
Yes.
Member Seraphy Cox.
Yes.
These were the August 14th minutes?
No, June
No.
12th.
Okay.
Now we're moving on to August 14th. Member Feather.
Yes, so a couple of things. One, I'm requesting a correction on page 8, section E, resolution on charter school funding. At the end of that paragraph, it reads, Member Weisenfreund asked how this bill compared to the one put forward by Senator Gomez. Member Davis said this bill would hopefully reform cost-sharing formulas, increase transparency, and require that DESE considers the financial impact on sending districts. And when I reviewed the minutes before this meeting, I didn't remember that answer, and so I went back to the recording. And when I asked Member Davis how this bill compares to the one put forward by Senator Gomez, Member Davis stated, I can't speak to that. I don't have a direct comparison. I just thought the language was compelling, and I wanted to support Senator Comerford's efforts regarding charter schools. I'm not prepared to compare those right now. So I can send that to you, Cassie, if it's, or you
That'd be
can
great.
watch the recording.
I'd appreciate
So that's the first one, thank you. The second one has to do with the cell phone policy. That's on page 9, item G. And I actually started the discussion there, and I would like that to be included. And I can send you my language, Cassie, if it's acceptable. I would say that Member Weisenfreund began the body's discussion by noting that the policy did not include the involvement of stakeholders, as was previously discussed by the body. She stated that she did not think there should be a blanket policy for all age groups and feels that at least juniors and seniors should be involved in the development of this policy. She said that she could not support the policy as presented because it does not involve the people that it impacts. So I would like that added if possible. Thank you.
May I ask a question? Or just, is there a way that with, if everyone's in agreement with those additions, that you still can pass the minutes with those additions
As amended.
As amended?
I would make a motion to approve the minutes as amended with Member Weisenfreund's changes.
Is there a second? Okay. Motion made by Member Seraphy Cox, seconded by Member Gazy. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Member Miller,
Yes.
Member LaBounty,
Abstain.
Member Agna,
Yes.
Member Davis. Yes. Mayor Shara.
Yes.
Member Gacy. Yes. Member Weisenfreund.
Yes.
Member Seraphy Cox.
Yes.
Member Hennessy. Yes.
Okay. Moving on to the next recommended action is a donation from Gateway Fiber to Bridge Street School of $3,000. There a motion?
Motion to accept the donation.
Motion's made by Member Seraphy Cox, seconded by Member Davis. Roll call, please.
Member LaBounty,
Yes.
Member Agna,
Yes.
Member Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Shara.
Yes.
Member Gacy. Yes. Member Weisenfreund.
Yes.
Member Seraphy Cox.
Yes.
Member Hennessy. Yes. Member Miller.
Yes.
Great. Moving down to,
Before we do, I see that there are 4 people in the waiting room, and one of them actually is me.
My Zoom has crashed.
oh, no,
So-
okay, hold
I
on.
can do it. I can admit all. And I'll make Mike a co-host. Emily, you were in the waiting.
Do you want us to wait a minute
I-
so you can come back in?
I've been trying unsuccessfully.
Okay.
And I don't want to hold up the meeting, so.
Okay. Okay.
I'll watch you.
Okay.
I'm just gonna make him a co-host.
Oh, wait, who's the host?
I would be still the host then. I was co-hosting.
Yeah, you're the host.
And I can also help with letting folks in.
Okay, moving down to new business. First item is a vote to ratify the collective bargaining agreements with NACE units B, E, and F. Is there a motion?
I'll second.
Motion's made by Member Gazy, seconded by Member Weisenfreud. Discussion? Okay.
Member Agna,
Yes.
Member Davis,
Yes.
Mayor Shara,
The city's in negotiations with other unions, so I'm abstaining.
Member Gacy. Member Weisenfreund,
Yes.
Member Seraphy Cox,
Yes.
Member Hennessy. Yes. Member Miller,
Yes.
Member LaBounty,
Yes.
Yeah. Bobby?
And don't forget, Michael Stein is in the room.
Oh, did you call?
Yeah, I just wanted to, I think you missed the approval of the donation.
Nope, we did it.
Oh, you did it?
Yep.
I missed it then.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's okay. Did you get member Stein?
I didn't know he was in the room.
He's
Member Stein?
Oh, that's right. You can't see. Sorry.
Yes.
Apologies, Cassie. Okay, moving to first reading of the civil rights policies and member Gazy.
These policies were all written a long time ago, but then the administration changed, so we had to make some changes. These have all been, we've been working with Attorney Taylor about them. We condensed a lot of policies, so we have fewer now because many of them were duplicative. Although the feds are no longer enforcing certain things and possible repercussions in Massachusetts, there are still protections, Title VII and state protections. And you will see, I can't get these up, do they have the highlighting comments on them as well? That,
Recording in progress.
let me see, they have the recording things. So all of the changes have been highlighted in yellow. There have been things like discrimination and harassment is adverse conduct, and the real term is unwelcome. So there are cleanups and all of that. We did put in steps for grievance policies were added, and so they're fairly lengthy to read. But this is a first read.
Okay. Is there anything in particular you're looking for from us for this first reading?
Not really, because so far we agree with Attorney Taylor she's put in a lot of work on it.
Okay. Great.
And, yeah.
Any questions or discussion? Okay, moving on to the annual review / approval of the Northampton Public Schools Bullying and Intervention Plan.
Just to remind everyone that this plan mandates an annual review of the document by the school committee. We want to remind our community that we have a formal process in place to investigate alleged complaints of bullying and to deploy safeguards once complaints are substantiated. This is part of our ongoing commitment to address bullying and other harmful and disruptive behaviors that can impede the learning process. All staff are required to review this document annually. In addition to reviewing this plan, staff receive training on cyberbullying awareness, prevention, and intervention. I know that we normally do not speak to some of the comments that were made during public comment time, but I do want to express one of our constituents who's pointed out about getting this information out to families and making sure that they know how to submit complaints accordingly, and no, they do not have to be formal in terms of writing, but they do need to make sure that either it's verbal conversation with the appropriate staff member, more than likely the principal at the school. And so, yes, we do annually submit data to DESE in response to the number of bullying incidents, and normally I give that information to you all in October, but I do have the preliminary numbers. So for the last school year, there were a total of 47 incidents reported, and of those 47, 28 were substantiated. 19 were unsubstantiated. And so in October, I usually give you the data for disciplinary data, enrollment data, demographic data. So I will also supply that and break it down by school. I did want to share that. And then the other piece is that this plan was developed with the resources and tools from DESE, so it wasn't just something that was randomly put together, but it was very thoughtfully put together. It's going into its second year in terms of utilizing this plan. Correction, third year in terms of utilizing this plan. And then also, we do send out reminders to our families and via the newsletter in terms of how families can submit complaints. And we actually did something a little different this year. If it wasn't necessarily a bullying complaint, but a complaint in general, that we do have information on the website where people can submit those complaints. So we try to be as transparent as possible and communicate to our families in ways in which they can submit those complaints.
I do have a question. I just have a clarification. On page 7, under reporting bullying or retaliation.
Let me get there. I'm there.
So report, and this is, if this is too minutia, just say, and reports of bullying or retaliation made by staff, students, caregivers, or guardians, or others, maybe oral or written. So, great. The next one is, oral reports made by or to a staff member shall be recorded in writing. That doesn't include the caregivers or guardians in that one.
No, so in a sense that if a student, like for instance, a student reports it to a staff member, the staff member will document it.
So that to me, thank you, because the next paragraph said reports made by students, caregivers, or guardians, or others, may be made anonymously. I guess where I'm not seeing it is that is also going to be recorded.
Right, because we have to have that running record.
Oh, no, I definitely want the record. It just wasn't clear to me that it will be recorded in writing for the guardian or student.
Okay.
That's where I wasn't
So we
clear.
can add that statement for clarification? Would you like me to add a piece there?
It's clear to everyone else. It just wasn't clear to me. That's it. Because you have oral reports, blah, 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 shall be recorded in writing. And reports made by students and others, they could do this incident form.
So the second sentence kind of covers that by saying that, the school district will make available to the school community an incident reporting form for each. But even if a child reports it,
Someone will fill that out.
Someone will
Great,
fill
that's
that
great.
out.
If that's clear to you, then it was just,
More procedural.
that's fine, thank you.
There was something I forgot to say that I took note. There was a request to change out, I think it's page 20 on our form. The request to change our, the disability / SPED, to change that, that acronym. And so I did hear that, so we can make that adjustment.
I do also have a quick question.
Member Stein.
Oh,
Thank you. Yeah, I have one suggestion and a statement. In my experience as a caregiver, the issues that I saw with this policy were less about what the policy says and more about its implementation. So there are many things reported that do not get investigated, at least in my own experience with kids in the district. I think it artificially gives the impression that these things are very low. So it often took, and part of this is just the demands of the job. And part of this is, I don't know how well staff are trained, like when this is reported, you have to document it in this way. And then an administrator needs to determine whether or not, what happened and conduct the appropriate investigation in line with the policy. The second part I'm very concerned about is the safety plans. It's also my experience that we, much like we have found that we don't have the staff to meet our IEPs, the staff are also required to meet safety plans. And without those staff, the safety plans are sort of wishes and hopes, frankly, in my opinion and in my experience. So I'm very concerned, and I would love to see us audit safety plans for staffing, like we're auditing IEPs for staffing, or as Desi just did for us for a couple of schools. And the other thing is the broad latitude of discretion within the hands of the principal for determining what the next steps are. And it's that paired with the restrictions on what one can say about anyone involved in these dynamics that I think leave a lot of parents frustrated. So I think it's unfortunate that there can be multiple substantiated claims involving the same kids, and they just keep going sort of indefinitely. So I do worry that sometimes we defer to an idea of restorative justice that we don't actually have the culture or practice for. And we end up in this strange place in which certain difficulties in bullying situations are simply simmering, right? Those are my concerns. I would like us to look at this policy and see if we can firm up some more guidance to principals on how to deal with these outcomes. I don't want it to be overly prescriptive because I think these situations are nuanced and I think these things are different and they need a lot of discretion. But I do wonder, as a parent who's gone through this, you know, why there is seemingly no limit on the amount of bullying that can occur in our schools in this policy. So I'd like us to look at that in rules and policy. In full disclosure, I have a PRS complaint with the state. I have a call with them tomorrow. That will play out as it plays out. But I do think that this policy is not being actually implemented in the way in which it's described, and that there's a lot of concerns with it.
Yeah, just briefly, Dr. Bonner, you said that you would give us more data about these bullying incidents, but I'm wondering if you know, and it's okay if you don't, off the top of your head, are these the 48 with the 27 substantiated, are those unduplicated, meaning are those all separate children, or may there be, is it possible that they're the same children, some of the same children in those?
It is possible that it's
Okay, thank you. And the other question I had was just, when you look at this data, do you see any themes that really jump out at you in terms of age of the children or by school?
No, it pretty falls in the trend line. So I would expect that older students, there would be more incidents. And so that literally proves true with the data. And so when I share that data, I just basically give you numbers. So I don't go back into the data to say if it's duplicate children that are reporting.
So most of these happen at the high school, middle school and high school, would you say?
So for the substantiated ones, there were 19 that happened, 13 at JFK. Why don't I just give you the numbers?
Yeah, that'd be great, thank you.
Okay, so let's start with Bridge Street Elementary School. So there were 4 substantiated, 1 unsubstantiated. Jackson Street, 5 substantiated, 3 unsubstantiated. Leeds, none substantiated, and 2 unsubstantiated. Bryan Road, 0 substantiated, 1 unsubstantiated. JFK, 13 substantiated, 10 unsubstantiated. And the high school, 6 substantiated, and 2 unsubstantiated.
Great, thank you so much, I appreciate it.
Member Miller?
My question is about the unsubstantiated ones. First of all, who determines that they're not substantiated, and on what grounds? And then if a kid reports bullying, how is it determined that that's not substantiated?
Okay, so that goes with what Member Stein was saying earlier. So first of all, the who would be, it could be a principal, it could be an associate principal, it could be a counselor who's doing the investigation, it could be our tiered support specialist who's doing the investigation. And so the who will be the one who determines, who does the investigation in terms of whether it is considered to be an actual substantiated bullying concern. And so in terms of the grounds, we have definition. The definition comes from the law, and we use that as the parameter in terms of guiding us to determine whether this is considered to be a bullying incident or not. You know, so for one, you know, multiple times, if there's multiple harassments or discrimination or intent to intentionally harm an individual, verbally, abusively, physically, or whatever, that's documented. And so right away, if it's multiple occurrences, the investigator will say that this is a bullying experience, a substantiated bullying situation. And then, so those are the parameters in which our administrators and staff members use to determine whether it was considered to be a bullying incident. Does that help?
Yeah, because I understand that you would have to know the ins and outs of every situation.
Correct. Each situation is different.
So I do understand that.
Member Agna?
I think that it's important to recognize that principal or whoever is doing the investigation, if they find it's unsubstantiated, it's not as if they would just say, too bad, you made a complaint, but it's not.
Yes.
It's not substantiated. I think, at least my experience in the past has been that you really very carefully talk with the students or the families about what are the thresholds for bullying, but also recognize that some of those situations are problematic. They might be considered teasing or put downs or the kinds of things that wouldn't rise to the threshold of bullying because there's a legal definition, but I really hope that the public knows that I would think that most schools would also honor the kids who have come forward with their concerns about things and hopefully then get to some place where things can get resolved.
Thank you, Member Agna. So just to point out, it does not say, because it says unsubstantiated, does not imply that there was not a disciplinary action taken. Exactly. So people need to know that, and so that's important.
Member Miller?
I just wanted to add to what Member Agna just said, that having counseled many, many students who have talked about situations that they might call bullying, if I'm guessing if it's unsubstantiated, that doesn't mean we don't believe you. It means it's not the legal definition. And there are many of these situations that suggest to me that restorative justice would be very helpful. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Member Senator Cox.
Yeah, I'm just curious if there is anything in the bullying policy that addresses the biases that the adults may hold as they are making the substantiations or not.
Say that again. I thought I heard you and then I didn't. So say it again.
So the adults who are making the decision about whether it's substantiated or not, everybody holds biases, right? So is there anything in the policy that addresses those biases?
Not specifically, and I won't say not specifically, but we do have policies around how we address our students and how we all know that we come with biases to the table. And so people have to be alert to their biases when they are addressing and investigating these issues. And so I see what you're saying. So yes, we have other policies that speak to that. I want to say in the actual plan itself, and I've got to go back and remember if we actually say the statement from the other policies into that policy. But we do have policies that speak to it, and I believe, and this is the plan, but the policy itself would align with this plan. All the
Policy.
policies, so not just the
All the other
bullying, but
policies.
all the other one, the anti-bias and all those policies would be a part of the intervention plan.
And, but the substantiations are made by one person.
Not necessarily so, because you're doing investigations and it could be multiple people who are, interacting. So I can't say that it's just one person, but.
But it's not a requirement for there to
one-
be multiple people.
No, there is no requirement for there to be multiple people.
Yeah, I just want, I, just as a person who makes decisions every day, I have found that my best decisions are made when I am not making them by myself. So I just wonder if that, is that something that is in other bullying policies ever, that there's a requirement that there's multiple people involved or multiple people consulted
So
as
we
part of it?
we don't specifically say that, but we just say that staff who are alerted to and who are doing the investigation makes that final decision.
Right. I'm asking, are you aware of like other?
No,
Other.
no, and I want to tell you, in terms of staffing, I don't think many people would say that.
Because they don't have the
Realistically.
staffing to support it.
To be realistic, it takes time to do the investigation itself.
Yeah.
And a matter of fact, I will just speak to this. JFK last year actually asked for, in the strong budget, they asked for an additional personnel to solely do investigations for complaints of bullying, because it's very time consuming to actually, really meet with the different parties, the victims, and then the follow through and collecting that information and making that determination. And so it does take time away from other responsibilities that the individual who's doing the bullying investigation, it takes time from that. I will say this, in the midst of some of the incidents that we had last year, if a parent felt that the person who was investigating was biased towards them, they would ask for someone else to investigate. And most times we would comply with that. And there would be someone else in the within the administration. So that has occurred. I will say that, but I will never say the tag teaming. They just don't have the capacity to be able to do that. Just wanted to point that out.
I just wanted to, one more thing. I don't know, again, I've been out of the district for a long time now. When I was in it, we would often ask the bullying investigations be done by somebody who wasn't in the school. I mean, another principal would do one in my school, and then
Yes.
and that kind. So I
And that
just
still
wondered about that.
happens.
Great.
And now we have some new team members that we will train, but
great.
they are already interconnected and working together with each other. So yes, if there needs to be an outside person, they'll bring another administrator from another building in.
But that's not in the policy.
No, these are our practices. These are our regulations. So the policy, remember, policy is just pretty much the law, the legal aspects of it. It does not necessarily, and I will say it does not necessarily include regulation, meaning the practices in which we actually implement the policy itself.
So
So
but
this plan.
Sorry. When I said policy, I meant
Okay, so this
plan. I'm so
plan-
sorry.
In this plan, it does say that.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. Good question. Thank you. Okay.
Any further discussion on that? Nope. Okay. So that moves us to,
Vote with the
oh,
approval
I
of- and
apologize,
will
of
make
course.
There's a vote.
Yeah.
the edits.
Yeah, is there a,
The special edit.
So is that the only edit then?
And I'll review to make sure that we include the component that you can always bring in. But we do it anyway, so
Yeah.
I think it's there.
Yeah.
I just won't be able to pull the page right now.
is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve the NPS bullying and intervention plan
As
written.
As
amended.
As amended, excuse me.
motion made by member Agnes, seconded by member Gazy. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Abstain.
No.
Member Stein?
No.
Hennessy?
Yes.
Member Miller?
Yes.
Bounty?
Yes.
One abstain, two no.
Okay. Okay, moving on to D, which is a vote to approve a delegate from the school committee to the MASC conference, which is November 12th to 14th. And first is anyone planning on going? Conference? Member Agna, you are presenting.
Yeah, I'm on a panel.
Okay.
So I'm happy to, as one of my last stands in the committee, is be a delegate also. And I think we've managed to make sure that the panel that I'm on is not when the delegate assembly is, so.
There's a possibility I may go. Okay. So I don't know if there's a way to.
You can have a backup?
Yeah.
Sorry, what is it
Alternate.
called? Alternate, thank you.
Okay, would that help?
That would help a lot.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
just in case, yeah.
Okay. I haven't.
Thank you.
I'm not sure I can, but I'm considering it.
It's good. I've always
Well, it's
reported
my
on it.
first
It's
year,
good stuff.
yeah. Okay, so is there a motion to approve Member Agna as a delegate and Mayor Shara as a backup to MASC conference?
So
I'll make the motion.
Motion's made by Member LaBounty, seconded by Member Gazy. Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please.
Member Davis?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Member Eisenfrein?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Stein?
We can't really hear Cassie, so.
Oh, Cassie, you need.
Member
So the
Stein?
people on, we don't know what she's saying.
Yeah, I can't hear her either.
My apologies.
That's better, yes? Okay.
Member Stein?
Yes.
Member Hennessy?
Yes.
Member Miller?
Yes.
Member LaBounty?
Yes.
Member Agna?
Yes.
All in favor?
Okie dokie. Moving on to E, which is a vote. This is to request to increase substitute hourly salaries for the current school year, 25-26. And Dr. Bonner, are you going to present this?
Yes. Let me get myself together. Okay, so it has been at least 4 years where we have not increased the specific subrates for the following individuals: our bus monitors, cafeteria helpers, clerical, and our paraeducators. And so I will say their current rate and then the suggested rate that we would like to increase it to. And this is per advisory from our Human Resource Office, and it's just the recommendations, and these rates are still above state and federal minimum wages, but we do want to be able to provide substitute subs in these areas when there are absentee. I can speak today. I'm a little tired. Sorry. All right. So we'll start with the bus monitors. So currently they receive $15 an hour. We would like to increase that to $16.50. The cafeteria helpers, they currently are at a rate of $15. We also would like to increase that to $16.50. The clerical workers are currently receiving a rate of $15 per hour. We'd like to increase that to $16.50. And the paraeducators, their current rate is $16. We would like to increase that to $16.50. this would actually put all of our subs at the same rate as well. Wanted to point that out.
Can I ask a question, please? The bus monitors, the bus monitor, cafeteria helpers, clerical staff subs are all being moved up $1.50.
Right.
So what was the reasoning for the para educators being hired to begin with, and why wouldn't we also raise them $1.50?
Okay, so again, I pointed out that it brings all of our subs to the same
Right,
rate.
I understand that.
Same rate.
Yeah.
And then, to be honest with you, our bus monitors and our paras, they kind of go hand in hand in terms of the students who they work with. Of course, there are less hours for our bus monitor. They're not there the full day, but usually they can do the morning run and then the afternoon run and actually serve in the building during the course of the day. So serve in the building in the course of the day at the same rate as a paraeducator. The other piece is that I'm trying to think in terms of our first tier of our paraeducator contract, which we're still working on. So within the range of the first tier, this is still, it's not near, but it's more than half. Let's just put it that way. Yes, it is.
Sure.
Yes.
You mean of the lowest?
In terms of the lowest tier.
Sure.
And so this was the rationale in terms of what was suggested through HR. And so that's why, the difference. Now, if you want to give them $1.50, then fine. I'm okay with it if you all want to do that. But just remember that I'm asking you of an increase of rates after the budget has been approved, meaning that we're coming up with increased rates, that it's going to impact our operating budget if we have a lot of absenteeism in these areas.
So I guess my question is, so are the bus monitors, cafeteria helpers, clerical staff, and paraeducators, do they all have the same qualifications to be substitutes?
So they have different roles. And so, for instance, the only position that's required to have some training, at least an associate's degree, or the paraeducators, the para pro, is the only one that's expected to have some educational background. So if you want, again, I'm not saying anything different. If this body wants to increase that rate, then so be it. But I took the rates that were suggested to me through HR.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, if I were a paraeducator sub and I saw that all the other subs were getting $1.50 increase and I'm only getting 50-cent increase, right?
That's correct.
Without real explanation. I mean, I think that, yes, it makes it simpler that all subs are at the same line, but I wonder if Bobby could give us some information about what the actual cost would be, the increased cost, if we were to raise the paraeducators $1.50 an hour. I haven't heard a compelling justification why we should raise them.
Well, I'm sorry that I haven't compelled you, and I did.
No,
but I do want to point out something to you in terms of when we look at this in a monetary vein, and I'm sure Bobby will speak to this. The most impacted group would be paraeducators, which would be the most costly for us because that's where the vacancies are. That's our second largest unit, and so to fill those absentee days would be a little bit more expensive on us. So Bobby, if you want to speak to what member Bison Freund would like to know in terms of the rationale and justification for just giving the paras 50 cents, when I spoke and said that you guys can increase it to whatever you want.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it really is kind of negligible, the amount of money that any of these categories would be. The cafeteria is self-supporting, so that would come out of their funds. And we do not really use a whole lot of subs in these categories. But certainly, having been 4 years, it probably is due for an increase. And what that increase is up to you entirely. I agree with Dr. Bonner on that. And it's negligible. It really would not make a big impact.
Thank you, Bob.
Member Stein?
Yeah, this is sort of a general, the 2 points to this. One is that I think in general, when things are brought to this body by our chief executive, and you're asking us to make actions on specific things in which obvious questions are going to be raised, such as, well, how will this impact the budget? How many, very obvious questions, and what is the recommendation? You come prepared to actually explain that to us. I had a similar issue with the increasing the rate of late bird, where we couldn't explain to anybody the necessity to increase the rate and what the costs were, right? We now know there's $116,000 sitting there. And I think we should have increased the rate, but we had no information with which to base the decision. And so I just ask that when we're presented as a body with these types of questions, especially when they're framed as, just remember we already passed the budget, we don't know because we haven't been presented the modeling of what impact this would be on the budget. And we could do whatever we wanted, right? We know that, but what we need is actually information and a recommendation that's drawing on the information. The second thing I want to say is that I anticipate we're going to have a lot of absences. When we're bare bones staffed and you have an ongoing pandemic and many other things, you are going to have a lot of absences, which means you're going to have a lot of subs. It sounds like from what Bobby's saying, it's not really going to matter if we do this or not financially in terms of our budget. So I don't know why we wouldn't do it. I wish we had more information to gauge whether or not we should increase it more. By given what we're being presented, I would be in support. I'd make a motion to approve the increased rate for our substitute employees in those categories.
As written in the agenda?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second that.
Motion's made by Member Stein, seconded by Member Seraphy Cox. Is there further discussion?
Yeah, I'm not in agreement of giving a differential raise to paraeducators than clerical and cafeteria and bus subs. I think that everybody should get a $1.50 raise. I think this is going to be a morale issue, and I think that's the last thing we want, to have more morale issues. And if this is really negligible, I think we should stay with a $1.50 increase for each. These are probably the lowest paid staff in the school, right? So this really feels like nickel and diming people. I don't like it.
Is that a motion to amend?
Okay, yes, I make a motion to amend. Thank you, Member Stein.
Second.
I make a motion to amend that we approve these increases, approve each of these substitute positions by $1.50 per hour.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Do we have any on the number?
Not if Bobby has that. Bobby, do you have any data on the number of subs that particularly fall under the paraeducators?
I don't, but typically we're more apt to get a long-term sub for a para than we are a daily sub. So that becomes a different issue too. I think typically when we have a long-term para sub, we give them the rate that's the very first step on the para scale.
Correct.
Okay, so these are just for daily subs.
These are daily subs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call on the amendment, please.
I haven't decided. Come back.
Member Visney.
Yes.
Cox.
Yes.
Stein.
I can't hear Cassie.
Member Stein.
Yes.
Member Hennessy.
Yes.
Member Miller?
Yes.
Member LaBounty?
Yes.
Member Agna?
Yes.
Member Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Shara?
Yes.
Member Gazy?
Okay. Any further discussion on the motion as amended? Roll call, please.
Member Weisenfreund?
Yes.
Member Seraphy Cox?
Yes.
Member Stein?
Yes.
Member Hennessy?
Yes.
Member Miller?
Yep.
Member LaBounty?
Yes.
Member Agna?
Yes.
Member Davis?
Yes.
Mayor Shara?
Yes.
Member Gazy?
Yes.
Did I call on you, Member Weisenfreund?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we take a 5-minute bathroom break or other types of break?
Sure. 5-minute recess. Back at 8:20. Okay, we are back from recess, and we are on to the superintendent's report with a student services update as well. Thank you.
All right. Northampton Public Schools District Special Education Program is striving to become a model of inclusive and effective support for students with diverse learning needs, rooted in a commitment to providing a free and appropriate public education in the least restrictive environment. The district recently received a report from an outside consulting firm, which we refer to as the CASE report. This report provided a fresh perspective on the elementary special education program, highlighting areas of strength, including dedicated and skilled educators, as well as strong commitment to inclusive practices and tiered supports. Even in the midst staffing reductions over the years, the current teacher-to-student ratio at Northampton schools surpasses the state average. We currently have 6 full-time equivalent special ed teachers at each elementary school, and Bridge Street has 7 full-time teachers based on its student population. After several years, a portion of the special education programming, named the RISE program, is being restored at the elementary schools. We believe this specialized programming, along with the continued focus on inclusion, is creating a better balance in meeting our students' needs. The philosophy of full inclusion, where students with disabilities are integrated into general education classrooms to the maximum extent possible, has been a goal, but its full implementation has been challenging over the years. The initial rollout of this model had limited staff training and preparation. We continue to believe that this model is not merely a practice of proximity, but a thoughtful and supported model of integration. When implemented effectively, academic and social emotional benefits for both students with and without disabilities have been observed, leading to increased interactions with peers and a deeper understanding of diversity and empathy for all students. We can improve this model by increasing professional development and setting aside dedicated co-planning time for staff. The district's dedication to a supportive, least restrictive environment ensures that students are not only present, but are active, meaningful participants in their school community. An effective co-teaching model is also key, ensuring all students receive necessary accommodations and modifications without feeling singled out, while simultaneously enhancing the instructional methods for the entire classroom. Paraeducators are utilized not just as assistants, but as integral members of the educational team. The district's goal is to train them to implement instructional strategies, assist with accommodations, and facilitate social interactions under the direct supervision of a certified teacher. This approach ensures their support is meaningful, goal-oriented, and directly linked to a student's IEP. The confluence of small teacher-to-student ratio, a commitment to inclusion, effective co-teaching, and the strategic use of paraeducators has created a program that is both highly efficient and deeply effective. By focusing on collaboration and individual support, the district is not only meeting the needs of its students, but is also building a foundation for future success. As I turn this over to Director Holloway, I'd like to briefly comment on the DESE report mentioned in the media. This report identifies areas for improvement in two of our schools, and NPS is fully committed to implementing all required corrective actions. Many of these areas pertain to fully implementing the IEP programs for students at JFK and Bridge Street Elementary schools. And so also to let you know that a district curriculum accommodation plan, the DCAP, was made available and has been updated and is on our website as of June of last school year. And we are ensuring our child find procedure is up to date. So with that, I'm going to turn over my report time to Director Holloway, and he has a brief presentation to continue this conversation.
Thanks, Dr. Bonner. Is that audio good?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Okay, I have some slides. I'm going to go ahead and share those. Okay, I see you have a raised hand, Chair.
We have to finish the
Do the
presentation.
presentation.
Thank
Why
you.
don't then we'll go
Okay.
to questions.
Thanks. So good evening. So tonight, in part, I'm here to address a recent letter from the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's Problem Resolution System Office. The report has understandably raised questions and concerns within our community about special education services, and it's my responsibility to address those directly. The central finding of the report identified a systemic weakness. The department correctly pointed out that we lack a formal system for tracking and addressing services that are missed due to the operational reality of staff absence. My goal tonight is to provide a clear and transparent response. I want to do that in three parts. First, I want to outline the action we're taking to solve the systemic problem. Second, I'll correct the record with data where we have a professional disagreement with the state's interpretation. And third, I'll provide some important context to clarify the public conversation and discuss our path forward on rebuilding trust. What you see there is the essential corrective action from the report. This was released publicly, and I know that a lot of folks probably on the Zoom have seen it. The district will submit to the department only the procedure by which building administrators determine which, if any, special education teachers or paraprofessionals will be assigned coverage of daily staff absences. This procedure shall include a system for tracking which students miss special education services and supports on a particular day due to staff vacancies or daily staff absences. A periodic review of whether students whose services or supports were interrupted due to coverage responsibilities require compensatory services. So that is the language of the corrective action itself. In response to the department's directive, we're implementing a formal system to ensure accountability for services impacted by daily staff absences. This new protocol will establish a clear internal process for staff to log when a student's scheduled service is missed due to a staff member's absence. These confidential logs will then be reviewed periodically by the Office of Student Services for the specific purpose of determining if any students require compensatory services to make up for lost instructional time. This creates a durable, data-driven process focused on ensuring students receive the full benefit of their IEP. And this work is well underway already. We convened a meeting of all of our building administrators on the 29th, and we are finalizing our system for submission to the department on the 19th. There are a couple items I just wanted to provide a little bit of correction and context around. As I mentioned, it is our duty to be transparent where we have submitted factual corrections to the state. The report found that our child find procedure was deficient based on a summary of our policy. However, we have formally pointed out that the report summary omitted a key section from page 104 of our procedures manual. Our manual explicitly states that the district conducts child find activities for all students ages 3 through 21. This comprehensive 3 through 21 process is the foundation of our child find system, and it covers all students, including those who are advancing from grade to grade. And I wanted to point out, too, that in Northampton, we are at around 25% of our students are identified as having disabilities that require specially designed instruction for, which is the special education eligibility. We also wanted to speak a little bit about the JFK data in particular. The report statistics on one-to-one aid support at JFK Middle School don't align with the data that we submitted. To understand the department's finding of a 24% noncompliance rate of one-to-ones, we asked them to identify the specific students that they included in their analysis. Upon reviewing what they provided, we discovered that none of the students on that list have one-to-one paraprofessional services. So we've submitted a formal request for factual correction for that as well. So we're working collaboratively with the staff and leadership at PRS to clarify some of these disagreements. But certainly we do recognize there's work to be done. But we want to make sure that the information that's out there in the public is accurate. Finally, I want to just kind of provide a little bit of context. I think the finding and the report itself has had a significant impact on the public dialogue. Following the release of the report, we've seen significant misinformation in the press and on social media. Most significantly, published articles inaccurately reported on the statistics of missed services, a 16% noncompliance rate that referred specifically and only to students at JFK needing one-to-one, was imprecisely applied to all students and all services. This has led to further inaccurate statements like 25% of all students in the district's IEPs are not being met. The facts contained in the DESE report itself don't support that, and our commitment is to address the actual findings, and I want to be clear, there are actual findings that we are addressing. Similarly, regarding Bridge Street Elementary, the department's report actually did affirm that our staffing plan was correct and in place. I quote directly, they said, all students who required paraprofessional support were assigned to a paraprofessional provider. The report's finding of noncompliance was therefore about the impact of the quote, operational reality of daily staff absences, for which we lacked a formal tracking system. And so, as I said, that's kind of our main mandate right now is to build this tracking system. It's a systemic weakness, and we're correcting it now. We have been, working really, really hard and thoughtfully and collaboratively with our staff and administration to put a system in place for that. I felt like I needed to kind of cover some of those things on the record, but it's more important, in all honesty, to address the public conversation around trust. As Dr. Bonner mentioned, we brought in a comprehensive evaluation with Case Collaborative at the elementary level, and this identified an erosion of trust between many families and the district, and identified that as a critical area for improvement. Painfully, this finding was brought into sharp relief by the recent hot mic incident. And I just want to say on a personal level, the comments that were made during that incident are a source of deep regret for me. The harm and pain they caused are real, and for that I'm sorry. An apology is necessary, but it's not sufficient. To begin the real work of repair, the Student Services team is working with the CPAC Executive Board to partner and help co-design a path forward. We're in conversation with several potential community partners to help facilitate this essential work, and hope to be releasing some more information about that in the coming months. So our commitment is really to rebuild trust, not with more words, but through deliberate, consistent, and collaborative action. Dr. Bonner kind of covered the case evaluation. These are the slides that are posted online. I've presented them at the curriculum subcommittee as well as briefly at budget and property, so I won't go into great detail. I think these were the guiding questions that we brought to the elementary level review regarding current district trends in special education eligibility, tiered supports is number 2, the organization of staff resources is number 3, and then specialized programs and programming are available for students with disabilities who require more intensive supports. So those are kind of the guiding questions that we posed to them. As Dr. Bonner shared, the report identified many strengths, and we really have an extraordinary department, an extraordinary team, and I think that shone through in the review. I won't go through all these because I know Dr. Bonner kind of touched on them. It also identified some areas for improvement, some opportunities for improvement. First and foremost, is around building a robust multi-tiered system of supports framework, which is a general education intervention available to all students, but really kind of targeting 25 to 30% of students who are demonstrating need for additional support in the general education setting. So those are all publicly available online, and we've spoken about them at subcommittee, so I won't go through every last item on there. The report also has a lot of broad recommendations, and in the slide deck that is posted online, we go into more detail around all 4 of these. The MTSS, delivery of inclusive special education services. Dr. Bonner mentioned co-teaching, and that is an interesting finding in the report. That I don't think has been a subject of great conversation. I think when the WINS model happened 8 years ago, there was so much. I think there was good intentions, but I think there's a lot of failure of implementation. And so I think that the co-teaching, which was sort of at the heart of the idea of the model, really never lifted off, never landed. Folks weren't given enough time to process, think, and the professional development side of things, which is unfortunate because we're actually staffed to be a co-taught elementary, K through 6. But you can't that just doesn't just happen. It takes relationship building, takes time, professional development, administrative scheduling. A lot of things need to go into it. So it's an area for discussion, but I would say at this point, discussion only. Of course, specialized programs for students with more intensive needs, has been something we've discussed and we'll discuss further. And then a host of additional considerations in there as well. So I know we want to get to the questions and the discussion. I just wanted to share just a quick set of bullets on sort of, first week and a half of school or so. I mean, I think, although a lot of this sort sort of the press has kind of dominated the public conversation. It really is, in been my experience, that our folks are doing incredible work in the schools, that our kids are doing well, and I will say sort of subjectively, that we are off to a more stable and positive and sort of student-focused, learning-centered start to the school year than we were last year. So a couple of things I want to highlight. We are fully staffed for our budgeted positions. There are a few things that we're contracting in providers, but these are sort of trusted providers that we were working with. In June, we offered Orton Gillingham workshop for 15 special education teachers. That was a really exciting thing to see people come out. And we've identified funds for up to 3 of those teachers to continue on to associate level certification. And I'll say, I've been here about a year, and that was sort of the main clarion call of the first few months of my tenure here, was just sort of the amount of community members and others who are identifying the need for evidence-based reading interventions for kids with IEPs in particular. So I'm really happy that we're able to put that together and get it moving forward. We are one recommendation from the report that I didn't explicitly call out is the autism endorsement, which is a DESE sort of, it's a licensure area. It's an add-on to a license. It's something that I think helps build the professional skills of teachers who have the moderate disabilities license. So there's 2 primary special education teaching licenses. One is moderate disabilities. The other is called severe disabilities. And so the autism endorsement is kind of an add-on that can help build the skill set of folks who have either one. I have to mention, as Dr. Bonner did, the RISE and RISE UA programming that is happening at different levels depending on student need at the 4 elementary schools. We're seeing really incredible work happening from dedicated staff there. And there are challenges. I'm not going to pretend that this is all sunshine. This is complex, challenging work. I just have to really give a shout out to our many staff who are, doing everything they can and more to support kids in a less restrictive environment, in the appropriate environment for the students. And we had an ongoing community work group to develop this programming, and kind of the refrain of meaningful inclusion opportunities for all students was kind of the consistent thing that came up in those groups. So I'm really happy to see this work taking place and really impressed by the staff. At the elementary level, we have 2 new principals who have been really great collaborators from day one. I'm really grateful for their work, as well as our returning veteran principals. Across the department, it's an incredibly dedicated team, and we're really, we're lucky to have them. It's an extraordinary staff. And then finally, we are launching a secondary level review from Case Collaborative starting, in the next month or so, where we're going to take a look at the secondary level and then hope to have some preliminary, some of their findings and recommendations, closer to the budget season, so that we can have information that informs the active conversation going on around staffing and other fiscal issues around the district. So that's all I had, and I'll just I'll kind of say thank you and turn it over for discussion.
Great, thank you. Okay, Member Stein is up first.
Thank you. I've got a number of questions. The first has to do with the specific ratios that Dr. Bonner mentioned at the beginning. I asked because there was a lot of playing with ratios in the last budget conversation, and disputes over what the ratios were. We just went through this exercise with the high school classroom ratios. So what specific ratios are you referring to that we are doing so well above the state average in?
If I would have to open the report to give you the specific number, but the report highlights special education staffing compared to comparable districts using the DESE has it's a pretty nice tool. It's called Radar. Some folks might know it, and what it does is it plugs in the demographics of a given district, and then it kind of runs comparables on all kinds of things. And so the report, if you'll, I could pull it up, but the report gives you essentially just the Radar report on staffing, and that's what Dr. Bonner was referring to.
Okay, it'd be great if we could see that. And also, when I hear that and read it in contrast or in addition to the case report, which clearly identifies that we have built an inclusion model that over relies on paraprofessionals to actually the detriment of those students actually accessing special education teachers. I wonder if there's more questions we could ask about these sort of ratios, and if whether or not the ratios that we're saying are great are maybe symptomatic of other issues that the case report is pointing at. But
Just to clarify that, the ratios Dr. Bonner is referring to are from the case report.
okay, so the ratios are from the case report that are showing that we are better staffed, but the case report is also pointing out that the way our model is deploying that staff has certain downsides, right? In terms of special education students with one-to-ones accessing education services from special education teachers. This is one of the big things talked about at the curriculum subcommittee. It was one of the things talked about in the report. So I'm just flagging it here to say, ratios aside, deployment and these other findings add the context that we maybe need to think about. The other point I want to make is that when we say that finding was only for 2 schools, it's important to say that they only looked at 2 schools, right? So it's the case that, yes, this is specific to Bridge Street and NHS, but that is a sampling, the only sampling they looked at by DESE, right? So I think it's an important caveat. And I would encourage my colleagues on the school committee to require us to do an audit by our Department of Student Services of all schools. Let's see if these patterns, without the state making us do it, are reflected at other schools. Other thing I want to mention is, I'm glad to hear we're finally going to have a system to determine and track student service interruptions. And there's 2 pieces of this I want to emphasize. One is for the last 2 budget cycles, we have had discussions about whether or not we can meet the bare minimum written services, right? And this is reflected in the finding, right? Which says, the district says we have enough staffing, but if we have any absences, we're going to miss something. And that's because the last 2 years we have budgeted and personnel so tightly to the minimum that everything has to go right on every single day in order for us not to miss service delivery. Right? We knew that. We talked about it every single year. We made Josh go through the exercise. He came back and said, actually, there is a problem in this particular year. There is a problem at Leeds. We need to rearrange stuff this way. Otherwise, it will be impossible for us to meet this requirement. So we've been told this, right? And last October, we talked about this very specific thing, which is what happens when someone is out. Is a caregiver notified? When do people get told that services are not being provided to their students? And the answer kind of then was they really don't. And that finding sort of supports this. I'm glad we're taking the step to change that and then to have a record which we can then use to determine when additional services are required. But these were like really foreseeable things. When you staff to such a bare bones level and you know the operational reality of the schools, people are out, you got to have people that can actually fulfill what's legally obligated for these students to access a fair and appropriate public education. And we knew we couldn't do that all the time. The other thing I want to bring up, and then I'll pass on to my colleagues, is the child find procedure. This is part of the finding. And I'm wondering if this is the missing page, right? But it says the child find procedure did not explicitly address the district's procedure or policy related to children who are suspected of being a child with a disability and in need of special education, even though they were advancing from grade to grade. And we all just lived through the conversations about 8th grade, and we heard all about how iReady is not a great platform, and there was so much pressure that the district finally said, okay, we're going to spend some resources and some time, administer what we think are better tests, and then we still found out that a number of students were 3 or more grades behind. And when it was asked in the curriculum meeting, well, are we going to let parents know? It was like, well, no, it's just one data point. My question really is, do we have practices and procedures? Not just do we have a policy on paper that meets state standards, but are we actually using the multiple data points we have to identify students that need further, need a further look to see if maybe some of the challenges they're having are related to special education. And I'm concerned that we're not. Right? I'm very concerned that we're not, and that children are moving from grade to grade, and we haven't lived up to the letter or the spirit of child find laws for those students. So I'd be interested to hear about that.
I mean, I can speak to it if you'd like or not.
You want to do all the questions first? And then, or it's up to you.
I'll speak to it briefly. I mean, because we did come up in budget and property this week, and we talked about sort of our interventionist staffing and sort of that, where and how our general education interventionists are staffed across the 4 elementary schools. And I think there is a robust conversation to have there with building principals and school staff to really be thinking about, how are we deploying our interventionist resources? I think that's a really valid question. I did just remember, Stein, to your question, I did double check it. So it's page 29 is the report in the case of Al, and then I just wanted to clarify, JFK was the other school here, not NHS in the report. But I think ultimately your point is a good one, and one that we need to do better with, which is having a concentrated and deliberate system of general education interventions as a multi-tiered system. The idea really is that, when we see students who are starting to struggle, we intervene. And then, if that preliminary intervention isn't adequate, we intervene more, and so you really do kind of, because one of the key things, when you talk about whether it has to do with special education, the question is this a disability? Is this an underlying disability, or is this something that we can remedy through instruction? And, so I think it's really important that we be talking about that, and that, those interventions are actually are catching up to the tier 1 instruction that was missed. And, that's something that was also discussed in that the case collaborative evaluation, which is, do we have the right interventions to fix our tier 1 problems? And I think that is a good question to have during budget season, and for Kate Messmer and her team to interrogate.
Next is Member Weisenford.
There's a lot to talk about here, and I'm going to try to organize my thoughts. I don't have anything written, obviously, but I think the comments I want to make have to do with the discussion around family partnerships and family engagement. And I also just want to preface by saying, Dr. Holloway, I appreciate your report, and I appreciate the position you're in. And, these are this is complex work. And it's difficult to meet the needs of all students in the current budget situation where we're chronically underfunded. But I'm troubled because I've only been on school committee since January, and I've heard dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of parents come in here and talk about their pain around their experience in the school and their children's experiences in the school, and particularly children with disabilities. And I feel like we haven't really addressed it until this report came out that actually found us guilty of many of the things that we've been hearing about for a very long time. And that makes me very uncomfortable. And, while I appreciate, Dr. Holloway, your apology about the hot mic issue, I still feel completely unresolved about it, because we still don't know as a school committee who said what and whether there were any disciplinary consequences to anything that happened there, which was really egregious. So I don't know that it's time to talk about public dialogue and misinformation when we have such a poor relationship with the parents in this district, especially parents who have special needs children. And so I just want to read a couple of sentences from the case report. So under opportunities for improvement in family partnerships, it says, a final recurrent theme that arose from the parent-caregiver focus groups was a deep erosion of trust between families in the district that has persisted for many years, especially for those with children requiring intensive special education supports. And then it ends that paragraph by saying transparent communication, authentic engagement in decision-making, and consistent follow-through are needed to rebuild trust. The inclusion of parent representatives in discussions regarding the potential development of specialized programs for students with high needs represents an important first step toward rebuilding open communication and transparency. Continued efforts will be essential in establishing trust. And then under the recommendations, it echoes much of that. I apologize, I have to scroll to this piece here. The district should consider developing a comprehensive family engagement plan aimed at fostering meaningful partnerships between caregivers and school. And then it goes in towards the end. It says a key component of the family engagement plan should be the revitalization of the Special Education Parent Advisory Council, CPAC, supported by dedicated administrative coordination to ensure its long-term sustainability and alignment with district goals. Feedback from parents and caregivers consistently reflected a strong desire to strengthen CPAC as a vehicle for advocacy, information sharing, and partnership. These engagement strategies should be intentionally designed to promote transparency, elevate caregiver voices in program planning, and create responsive feedback loops that allow families to see the impact of their input. And you're right, Dr. Holloway, we discussed this a little bit in Budget and Properties from a resource perspective, but I don't see, I really would like us to think about what is this intentional, robust family engagement and partnership plan that we're going to, that the district is going to develop and that the school committee is going to oversee. I was really, 2 days ago, Mr. Dave Gorin, who's a board member of CPAC, wrote to Dr. Bonner. And I'm not going to read the whole email because it's very long, but the bottom line is he says, we have all voted, we would like a seat at the table. We would like a seat at the table in designing and implementing the monitoring system. We believe this is consistent with our legal mandates to advise the school committee on matters pertaining to education and safety and so forth. And Dr. Bonner replied, and it was a very nice reply, but basically said, no, that's not your job, and you already talked to Dr. Holloway. I think that is a profound missed opportunity. We have just been told, please develop an intentional system, include CPAC, strengthen CPAC. What is there to lose? Why not let them be at the table? That is a way to build relationships and to build trust again. We've got to do it. That's all I've got.
Member LaBounty.
Member Miller had her hand up before me, so I think.
Nope.
No? No? Okay.
No, you're next in line.
Okay, great, thanks. Thank you, Dr. Holloway, for the information. What I'm struck by.
I appreciate the doctorate.
Did I call you?
Well, no, it was started by a member of vice president. So, and I'll take it, but I probably shouldn't.
All right. Well,
That's fine.
I think what I'm struck by several things around this, but we're talking to you, but this isn't a one-person show, right? And we need to be part of it. The families and the parents. This is a systemic issue, and we need to figure out ways to work together to make this work. And I really have appreciated many of your ideas about how you want to shore up the people in the roles that they do, like the paraprofessionals and the educators, and look at professional development in really important ways so that people operate to the top of their potential. Because I think that helps students. I think it helps people feel confident in what they do. I also believe that we need to figure out as a system how to make sure that our educators and staff feel valued and appreciated, because I believe that also trickles down to our students. So if there's ways that the school committee can also support you and the educators in that, we want to do that. You know, we need to figure out how to do that too. So the other thing that I'm struck by, not living in the school system, is how slow things actually move and how long it takes to implement things just because of the way things move in a school and what time you have available. And, you know, it's striking to me. So I think the idea of having the plan is really important. Love to see what we're going to put in place. I think, you know, what my peers have said is very important. And what are realistic timeframes for that? Given, you know what, you don't have to answer me right now, but I'm saying those are the things that we would want to know. I think in terms of one thing I'd love to see in terms of the trust piece is that I've always found, you know, I've done therapy for people for a lot of years. And what I've found is that when there is a breach in trust, that there's a reluctance to believe the other side. And there is a little bit of holding back of sometimes of information that could actually mend things. So the ways that we can be transparent, I think we should be. And I would love to see how we're going to let parents and caregivers know when there's a concern, like we don't have a person for this right now, today. How do we let people know that something might get missed and we're concerned about that? Because they're concerned about it too. I mean, we can be a team around that. So as part of this, the trust building, how are we going to include the caregivers in that so that we can build that back? Because I think that there has to be that outreach. So those are my 2 cents. I appreciate your work. It's a lot, and we have a lot of work to do. So if there's ways that we can help you, please let us know.
Can I make just a couple really quick responses?
Yeah, go ahead.
I really do agree, especially around, the missed services issue, right? I mean, that's at the heart of this conversation. So I think it's really important to have that conversation. I want to just flag relative to the CPAC. I'm always excited to work with CPAC. I think that's talk about a dedicated group of volunteers who are giving time for a really important piece. And it's important to say that we Dave and Jacob and I and my associate director and others have been in touch around the monitoring work. And so these answers are dynamic. Everything it's relationship based, like everything else in life, and there's an ongoing dynamic around it. So a formal role in looking at confidential student data and potentially confidential personnel data, we really can't open the door to that. But certainly in terms of the design and delivery of a system, we are already having those conversations and we'll continue to. I think so. Dr. Bonner was kind of clarifying something, but the collaboration
I was just
is
say
there.
agree, because that's what was stated in the letter to CPAC on yesterday.
The other thing I want to flag, just coming back to the comments around what you read directly from the report, is I am actually genuinely very, very excited that we have this amount of energy and attention on the special education department. It can be challenging at times, but my experience has been, myself and the CPAC chair sit there and get 6 pizzas, and you look around the room and nobody shows up, and you're calling people and trying to get people to come out, and people are engaged here. People care, and people care not only about their own child, but the system as a whole. And I think that's a really wonderful piece of this community and a big asset for Northampton. I did want to flag it's actually in italics in the program evaluation, the piece that you read that says, results should be interpreted with caution due to the overall low participation rate and potential self-selection bias, which may not be representative of all. I'm hopeful that the energy and attention that all this is getting will give us a more robust sample set of parent interviews and maybe a breadth and a depth and a richness to those conversations that that I think will help inform the findings. We have 700 students with IEPs, and so at least 1,000 or so caregivers, and I think we want to hear all those voices, as a group, and so I am hopeful that we'll get better turnout on the focus groups. That information will be coming out as soon as I get it, probably the next few weeks. So that's an exciting thing. And then finally, to the question around a structured family engagement plan, Member Wise, I will say that we are having conversations right now with the CPAC Executive Board relative to a pilot project, bringing in a third-party facilitator and starting to build some structures that can help restore some degree of trust.
Thank you. Member Seraphy Cox, did I see your hand?
Yeah. I am, some of what I was going to ask about was already asked, so I'm going through. So for one thing, kind of piggybacking on the conversation about, working with CPAC and so forth, I'm curious what kinds of conversations have been happening with LPAC as well, because I'm the LPAC, representative, and when I met with them last year, I would say special education was at least half, if not more than half, of the discussion that they wanted to have with me. So just putting in that piece, and I also wonder, because there's so much crossover, maybe LPAC and CPAC working together to, on some of these events. Not that I'm telling them what to do, but I can imagine, because there's so much crossover in terms of needs and many special education receiving students whose parents are also a part of LPAC. And also within LPAC, that is a staffed committee of parents. It has support. It has money behind it, right? And because we're legally required to, and CPAC doesn't. And obviously there are reasons for that in some ways, and also CPAC, I would say, deserves it too, So those are just kind of my thoughts around that, not necessarily specific suggestions. But one question that I have, now this is unrelated to what I was just talking about, is around, this is actually about the amount of time that, our special education teachers are taking to, it's not necessarily that they're absent from school, but they're in, they're doing testing, they're doing IEP meetings, that sort of thing. Obviously, those are things that need to happen. But what I think a lot of folks don't know is that our district doesn't just do the IEPs and 504s and testing for students who attend our schools. We also do the IEPs and testing for all students who reside within our boundaries but go to other schools, be they private schools or et cetera. So, and this is, I think, maybe even an issue to bring up with MASC. Like, what thought is there on the statewide level about supporting districts to do this kind of work? Because private schools are getting their private school dollars for these students that then the public schools are supporting with testing, as we should, right? Be there to support students, but the dollars aren't there to support those students too. And so, as I'm thinking about ways to get your special education faculty the resources that they need to not be stretched, what did Member Stein say, drum tight. There are big changes, and then there are maybe these kind of smaller changes, but that really kind of drive home an equity issue of for our districts. And everything else was already asked about. So I don't know if you know of efforts around that, anything that we could support.
Go ahead, you
It's
deal with
not,
it every
that's
day.
not a quick one, but
No, I know.
I'll be very quick on that topic. But first, I want to just appreciate the comments around LPAC and family engagement, and also we have another really nice built-in overlap, which is that our family engagement coordinator is also our LPAC coordinator. So, and she's in the student services office and has been a great partner to us so far, and is a part of the. Did I say this already? We're kind of exploring a pilot project, and so she's central to the planning on that. And so I'm excited to sort of expand that collaboration further this year. I think it's going to be a big part. CPAC, we do invest quite a bit of money in a subscription to the Federation with Children with Special Needs. So there's funding there, but I think your question is actually a little deeper than that, and it is well, as I said. My experience with CPAC has always been sort of a recruitment. It's always been about recruitment and trying to get people to come out. And right now in Northampton, and I think in my experience, we have a very organized group. So it's as I said before, it's energy, it's good energy. That to support the individualized needs of kids. So that's a difference. However, it's not a group that's dependent entirely on the district for its energy, which I think does happen most of the time. Much of the time is that that CPACs are really just sort of very tightly tied in with the district in terms of the district says, hey, are we going to have a meeting? And you kind of scramble to get an agenda. Whereas here we have a really organized, dedicated group of folks, and that kind of creates its own momentum. I don't even I couldn't give a quick primer on the sort of the federal right to special education regardless of where a student attends school, but I will acknowledge and absolutely agree with I think it's not so much it is the work itself of the evaluation process, but I think it's sort of that state change. If we have 7 building-based school psychologists, for example, who do the evaluations and testing for all kids in the district, and they're fabulous. They're incredible professionals. They're not only essential to special education, they're also essential to the MTSS data work that we try to do. And they never complain, but they never complain about doing it. But if you're somebody who's really enmeshed in supporting kids within the building, leaving the building to go do evaluations and work elsewhere, I think it does sort of it's a state change, and that's always a little bit of a difference. But I think the bottom line is that particularly parentally placed students with IEPs, which is what kind of you're talking about, they have the same rights to special education as anybody does, and we have to kind of honor that. And there is some federal money that is aligned to their needs, but it doesn't really match the service obligation that we have to them.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I was not saying that we shouldn't serve these students who need it, but that, as you said, the little money that is there does not match the need of. So the local district is paying more for that. Yeah.
The loss of Chapter 70 is
right.
Member Miller.
Thank you for this presentation, first of all, and I am going to be, my questions are very specific to a certain group. Having worked with many young people on the autism spectrum, I'm acutely aware that any change is very difficult for them. And so what I'm wondering about is if a one-on-one para for a student on the spectrum has to be out or leaves the district or something, how are those students prepared for that change? And how are we guaranteeing that there will be someone there for them? Because they often cannot function without a one-on-one. That's my one question.
Well, and, you know, I know I went quickly, and I went through a lot around the DESI report, and you know, so I apologize if that was fast and stuff, but the heart of it is what you just said, or what you just asked. You know, the heart of it is that our building principals, you know, and their clerical staff, every single morning are sitting down and figuring out coverage, and that's the job of a building principal anywhere in the state, country, in the world. That is probably the core responsibility, is to make sure that, you know, you have somebody to present all the services and instruction that the kids deserve. And I think what was most jarring for our building principals about the report that came out was this claim that we were not providing a one-to-one para 24% of the time for two grade levels. And you know, they are so far the preliminary conversations we've had with the department have not shown us where that finding came from. And so when you ask a question about what happens when a para is out or leaves or whatever, you know, the building principal, it's top of their list. I mean, staffing a one-to-one paraeducator for a student who has that service is the top. I mean, you know, oftentimes they're more focused on that than on classroom teachers. I mean, they're focused on classroom teachers too. But when you think about the order of priorities, you know, making sure you have a dedicated one-to-one is the principal's first priority. So that's part of why I gave so much background context on the you know, on the ongoing discussion we're having around the factual correction. To your specific question about how do you help manage the transition, when a building principal, when the building team, and it's not just the principal. I mean, you know, you have many people who are involved in upholding, you know, a constellation of supports for a student. But when they have knowledge that a paraeducator is leaving, or when they have knowledge that somebody's going on a leave, or somebody's being if they have knowledge that that's happening, you see extremely careful planning. I mean, when I said it's been a relatively smooth start to the school year, a lot of that has to do with bringing students in, you know, who have either recently moved into the district or returned to the district, doing that with great care and collaboration and thoughtfulness around, you know, not just do we have a body, but, you know, is there a relationship established? What are the steps it's going to take to get that relationship established? You know, I was in an IP. I think throughout our days, when we seize on any bit of advance notice we have to try to facilitate smooth transit. Well, we try to avoid transitions, but if there is a transition, you know, I think, and it's not just administration by any stretch. In fact, oftentimes it's the teachers and related service providers who are really the ones getting down in there and helping make those decisions on smooth transitions. So I think, you know, my answer just has to be that that every little bit of advance notice that our staff have, that we have, we take advantage of it, and we plan like crazy to try to minimize the disruptiveness of a transition.
Thank you. And my second question was really about when you mentioned, you're talking about the tracking system. What I wanted to know is, as someone who's not in the schools, how does that tracking system work, and who's tracking what? I mean, who's tracking it, and who gets the information?
Well, those are the right questions to ask, and that's why, you know, we had literally every single building principal plus department heads and coordinators all came together on the Friday before a long weekend and spent almost 2 hours, you know, talking through specifically what are the mechanisms that we need to have at hand to be able to produce that data. Because, you know, that question isn't, I mean, certainly it's, you know, the one-to-one paraeducator. That's certainly part of that question. But the logistical complexity is, we have a lot of students whose IEPs call for group support. And that means that you have a paraeducator supporting 5 or more students in a classroom. So, it's a different level of support. This corrective action is asking us to be able to identify which group of students didn't have their group support on Thursday, third period, say. And we need to be able to have that information at hand. That's a tall task, but it's the right work to be doing. And although I mentioned some of the sort of professional, the factual corrections, when it comes down to the heart of it, we are embracing that work of tracking that. But you're right. I mean, those are the great questions. Another reason that makes it tricky, of course, is that the building principal, 6 a.m. or earlier, is looking at their list of who's in, who's out, and trying to make these decisions. And there's a cascade effect. It's not a one-for-one. It's not one person replaces one person's. It's 1, 2, 3, third period, fourth period, fifth period. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts there. And so the only way, we determined, really the only way that you can accurately, on a day-by-day basis, figure out, did Matt have his para support in ELA, in English, is the principal or the clerical staff, whoever it is, that has made that final, and sometimes it's not in the morning, sometimes it's, right before that final determination of who's covering that class. And then it's often a chain, like I said, it's often a chain of coverages. So the only person who's going to truly know that chain of coverages is the person who is communicating it. I mean, others will know, but in terms of having it at hand. So that has to be the point of reporting, is the person who communicates it. So then the question is, how do you make the reporting easy? And that is also not, none of this stuff is sort of turnkey. So there's a lot of work happening to just organize the information that we already have in a way that doesn't put a burden on our clerical staff. Our front office staff are, try running a school district without, they are the heart and soul of everything we do. So they need the information. Obviously, the principal needs the information. And then the periodic review that DESE called for it's going to be, student services and building administration periodically reviewing, that data, which is going to come to us in interesting formats, all kinds of student confidentiality, in all kinds of formats, and then identifying, are there patterns? Are students missing para coverage, in a concerning pattern that's going to call for compensatory services, or at least a discussion of compensatory services. So, all that's, we're still putting it all together. You don't usually have a lot of time to write these things. I think we had, 2 or 3 weeks or so. And so those conversations are ongoing. I feel great about the progress we've made and the collaboration we made to do it. But, we're not quite there yet in terms of every last piece.
I really appreciate that information. And my third comment that's related is that was so helpful. So my question would be, it's a PR question for the district, meaning this needs to be conveyed to so many parents and caregivers. Because, and I don't know what mechanism is the most useful to get this information out. Because I would say that most parents and caregivers, unless they're educators, they don't know what's going on and how this information is being spread. So I just wonder, how is that information that was so clear and helpful, how is that getting disseminated?
And so there's a larger, when you use a term like PR, that kind of says, well, I can talk to our family engagement, but in terms of this specific one thing, because we don't, you saw this is DESE corrective action 13,400. They have a high volume of these. They don't usually have the amount of publicity that this one has gotten. But one thing that, that it says is the district shall do this to the department only. To the department only. All this stuff is corrective actions. They, the Department of Ed, want the district to submit these things sort of, to the department only. And, Dr. Bonner and I have talked about, we're going to be as transparent as we possibly can around the system and the structure and the issues that are underlying it, because it's the right thing to do, and because it's, I think, the first step towards rebuilding trust. And I mean, I think the go ahead. Yeah.
That, and I didn't mean, PR is a very cynical term.
Yeah.
I actually meant that I would like our parents and caregivers to have that information. And I also do question why CPAC can't be in some of these meetings, because I think that would help.
Yeah, they are. I mean, I wasn't totally clear, but I have been in touch with the executive board around, I'm giving them the opportunity to discuss it and give feedback and all those things. But I think the framing that came to us was such that, we are, we had a lot of conversations with our colleagues, in the unions, as well as, the constant question of student data privacy protections. We don't have the freedom to kind of speak loosely about student circumstance. And I know you're not implying we do, but I'm just saying we really have to be extremely cautious around who we speak about, even in general ways, student circumstances, student placements, things like that. And so, I think Dr. Bonner's point was simply that, some things that have that much personnel information and that much student information are just, because that request actually said, can we help implement the system? And, the answer is that's a managerial function, but that doesn't mean that we won't take feedback and input and revision, and certainly in terms of the communication side of things, we're going to need them to help us communicate effectively.
Thank you.
Member Agnew.
First of all, I think this is our curriculum and instruction subcommittee report right now, because this is all that we did. Is that agreement with our members of that? Margaret, I think you didn't get to come to that meeting, so you get to hear it now, and it really is being told in detail, so thank you. And that meeting also had Ann Donovan, who did the case report, and she was very helpful, I think, in the way she presented, and also clearly the kinds of things that she picked up on. So I think we're in good hands for doing it in the secondary level too. I just wanted to also echo what Member LaBounty said about the ways that the wheels turn and how slowly, and how challenging it is to think about the everydayness in schools. It's huge, and it's not that we don't want transparency about what happens in schools, but in order to communicate that, I think, is always a big challenge. You have to use multiple avenues, the school council, the PTOs, the newsletters, just a gamut of ways that communication can and should happen in schools, so that people who aren't on the ground in schools can get a sense of what's happening. And that's our obligation as educators. And lastly, I just wanted to say that I've been doing consulting with new principals around the Valley, and the big issue that comes up is MTSS. And I think that the fact that you're embarking on a real organized way of looking at its multiple tiers of support systems, that I think it's not something that we've had in a very cohesive, coherent way. And for me, as thinking about the schools and the ways that we might be able to get a jump on the 25% of IEPs and the district, is that we really look at MTSS and really think about interventions in the general ed classroom before we have to even move to any kind of evaluation. So I'm so excited that MTSS is sort of at the top. So thank you.
Thank you.
Member Hennessy.
Oh my God, I thought I was at home for a second.
Who's talking?
It was Margaret.
I'll just say, I really will try to be brief, as Margaret reminded us all. We're not doing so well, though. I think the trust and transparency, and including CPAC, probably that I believe that's it's so important right now, and we are at a real important juncture. And I like what you said, that Desi said to the department, but this weaves in with the case report where we have to rebuild the trust, so I appreciate that work. The one thing I will say that's adding to what someone hasn't said is I noticed the word exploring autism endorsement, and I really hope we do it. Because I think given that we have no severe certified, is that true still? Yeah, that is a huge need, and we need to train people who are moderately certified to get that endorsement to help everyone else. And the most important thing, obviously, is to help the students. So.
And I know that wasn't a question, it was just a great comment, but and nobody here needs me to emphasize how great our teachers are, but I mean, last Friday, which is the end of the first, hefty week of student delivery, we did a webinar with Bridgewater State, who is kind of probably going to be our partner and coming at a very reasonable price point for us to be able to fund it. Great. It was like 2:30, 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. And I mean, we had like 10 special ed teachers across the district, chiming in on the info session, just wanting to expand their learning. It was really, really
I think that's
inspiring.
going to be a game changer in a lot of ways. Yeah. I really appreciate that, and I hope that's a priority for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who hasn't spoken? Member Stein?
Thanks. I have a few comments. I'll try to keep them brief. Though for this topic, I feel like we need to give it its due. And the first really is, I want it to be sobering, right? So I think one of the headlines we might take here is, district tries to determine if they are meeting their legal obligations to students as written, right? Like, that's literally what we're talking about. Having the tracking system, right? So we can understand what services were delivered and what services were not. And again, we're running into this issue, which is a budgetary issue, where you don't have enough staff, so then you play in an incredible game of coverage over time, trying to figure out how to make this work. And as Director Holloway pointed out, we don't even have clerical staff because we've had to cut those. So who is going to do this? How are we going to rely on this? Is this what the principal's doing every day? So these are all things really that have been pointed out as problematic, right? And I also want to say to the district's credit, we knew a lot of this last year. How many public comments did we hear last October, last November from Bridge Street schools about the failures of MTSS? The inability to provide interventions to students who qualified. And we basically did nothing, okay? We did nothing. We made some changes based on a health and safety grievance, but remember, that health and safety grievance also related to staffs being used for coverage and pulled for various things, right? Like, we keep running up against the same things. And we came into the budget season, and we got a recommendation for a strong budget. And guess what? It included a number of interventionists to do some of these multi-tiered interventions, right? They said, this is what we think we need. 8 out of 10 of us voted for it. My memory is correct. It was only Member Davis and the mayor who voted no. Ultimately, the city council never voted on a budget, and that budget went into effect. We didn't even get level services. But the idea that we're now figuring out that MTSS was important and we should have invested, I think we need to be honest with ourselves about the situation. This is not news to us. And in fact, proposals have been put forward. Proposals that we as a committee have said yes to, and they have not been funded. And there's only one person here who can make that decision. And so that's the reality of our situation. It continues to be the reality of our situation. And I'm profoundly frustrated about it. The other thing I want to say, I want to get really specific about this. So I want to be clear about what CPAC asked of us, okay? Because I think the details matter, and I do think it was a missed opportunity. So they asked us specifically sorry, I had it up here, now I got to scroll. They said, we see this moment as a tremendous opportunity to build trust and transparency around IEP service delivery in the district. We bring a growth mindset to this DESI outcome. A weakness in special education service delivery has been identified, and that is a necessary precondition to addressing it. So now we do the work, right? And they urge us to do this, right? And they say further down, as part of this, CPAC asked for a seat at the table in designing and implementing the monitoring system. We believe this is consistent with our legal mandates to advise the school committee on matters pertaining to education and safety of students with disabilities, and to participate in the planning, development, and evaluation of the school district's special education programs. This was the ask, right? And the response was, among other things, it was nice, the design and implementation of any system like this is a management level responsibility. The Director of Student Services has already been working with district administrators to develop a system to document changed assignments, and missed services, which includes a system of checks and balances. CPAC's role is to provide feedback and guidance on this critical matter. It is to my understanding that the CPAC Executive Board met with Director Holloway last Friday to discuss this and other important issues. If they felt that that was adequate inclusion and that they had a seat at the table on Friday, they wouldn't have asked us for this other thing. And it is entirely possible to design this process in such a way that student data is not provided to people who do not have the legal right to see it. And it is a missed opportunity not to say, yes, we would love to include you in some of our conversations. Obviously, we need to protect student data, but you're asking for a seat beyond just your normal consultation. And we're sort of telling them, no, go back there. We'll consult you when we're ready. And that to me is what I heard Member Weisenford saying was the missed opportunity. So I would encourage us to think more expansively and less restrictively about what it means to design a process in which we can bring the community in, especially stakeholders that want to see at the table for fixing these very specific problems. But I can imagine 100 ways you might involve CPAC officers in a conversation about the actual intricacies and difficulties of implementing the system, what ideas they might have from a parent perspective, other things that you're not thinking about. And to say no to that, I don't understand it in light of what the case report is telling us. I think what they're telling us explicitly, I want to make clear to you, is that the current channels are not enough. The current engagement is not enough. If you want our trust and you want to build things with us, do it collaboratively. And that means giving us a bigger seat at the table. Doesn't mean we put them in an illegal position or ourselves, but it means we give them a seat at the table. Thank you.
Member Weisenford?
Yeah, so I just very, very briefly, because Member Stein just said a lot of what I was going to say, and I think that I felt compelled to raise my hand again, because in the communication with CPAC, that back and forth communication, nobody ever raised getting involved or having access to sensitive or protected information, student information. That was not in Dr. Bonner's response. She didn't say we can't do this because it would jeopardize protected information. That's something that we're talking about tonight. But that was not, to be honest, again, that was not in that communication. So that's what I wanted to add.
Any other discussion? Member Stein, last brief comment.
Yeah, sorry, this is my third point that I forgot. I'll be very quick with it, which is that I also want to note that the city council, and considering our budgets for a number of years, has been led to believe we have a robust system of multi-tiered supports, right? Which we don't. There's a lot said about what we address in the classroom on the front level. And I want us to accept and acknowledge and be honest with our community that we didn't have those things and we don't have those things. This is what the case report is telling us. We knew this at the elementary level. This is what the discussions around reading support for incoming ninth graders has showed us at the high school level. We need to be more honest about the challenges we're faced and the resources it's going to take to address them.
Okay, thank you very much, Director Holloway, for being here. Appreciate it. We are on to the business administrator report. Hey, Bobby.
Hi, everybody. So my stuff is in your packet. But I do just want to run over how we ended up with FY '25. We did end the year in a good way, with zero balance. We had budgeted, for school choice, we had budgeted $1,150,009. We only ended up spending $967,070. Our revenue we anticipated was at $1,220,000. We took in 1,229,792, so a little bit better than that. So in any case, we ended up with a balance of $912,411 in our school choice account. So we're getting up to the amount that we are budgeting on an annual basis. So that's a good thing. We're not quite there yet, but by the end of '26, hoping we will be there. The FY '26 report is in your packet. I'll do a in-depth talk on that in October to give you a true quarter. There probably won't be a whole lot to report because it is still relatively early in the year. And I also included in your packet the FY '25 grants and the ending balance of FY '25 revolving accounts. So happy to take any questions or talk more about any of it. But that's what we got in there.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. Member Stein?
Hey, Bobby, just a quick question. I hear you describing the way in which the balance of the school choice account is rising. And I'm hoping you might say a little bit more for our audience and our members, right? So as I understand what's happening, right, our fiscal cliff is rooted in the overspending of the school choice surplus over a number of years. And once we went negative, we have been slowly trying to build up the balance in the hopes of getting to a point where it essentially equals out what we anticipate to come in the following year. So at any given time, you have 1 year in the account. Is that where we're headed, and is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, that is correct, and we are getting there. For instance, as I said, we had estimated expenses or approved expenses out of school choice of $1,150,009 for FY '25. We spent something under that. Then in FY '26, we dropped that down to $1 million. But our balance going into FY '26, we had originally anticipated at 719,000. We're now at 912 and change.
And so are we literally kind of like building that by drawing less towards the end of the year where we can? Is that how we're getting there?
Right. Yep. So like I said, for instance, the revenues were in excess about almost not quite 10,000. So from my estimates, we were 10,000 over that. And then we underexpended by 182. And that's a combination of salary savings, of grant tidings. So we have, as we close out, we can carry grants for like 3 years. So as we close out earlier year grants, we have a little bit here, a little bit there that we can oftentimes put towards our general fund budget. And then a little bit of the mid-year appropriations that we got. So it's a combination of everything that led us to a little better of a balance than I had anticipated, but we're still under what we're expending on an annual basis.
Yeah. Hi, Bobby. I see the personnel report and the written report that says September 2025. I see the revolving accounts activity and the grants list summary. And then I see the year-to-date budget report for FY '26. But I don't see the closeout report for FY =25 in the materials in your, in the business administrator report. Is it in a different section and I just missed it?
No, so you didn't get the Munis report that showed the FY '25?
There's a Munis report, but it's FY '26 year to date for August.
Yeah, no, there should be two. There
Bobby,
should
that
be
was
the
probably
FY
my
'26.
error, and I'll distribute that tomorrow.
Wonderful,
Okay.
thank you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for Bobby? Okay, thanks, Bobby.
You're welcome.
A budget and property 5-minute update. Member Stein.
Great, so we had a budget and property meeting earlier this week on Monday. We had a number of items to discuss. We've already covered a number of the issues we talked about regarding the case report, so we don't need to talk about that. We did take up what was referred to as in our August meeting from the body, basically looking at the out-of-school time working group results and looking at all of the data that was collected and figuring out what additional data we needed, right? So this is the conversation we had about, do we replicate the LEADS model? We're going to take this recommendation to do a YMCA and LEADS style thing at Ryan Road, so after your first draft, we began that conversation. Bobby's already pulled together some additional information for us to look at about LEADS programming. We've had some conversations about licensure and not licensure and about vouchers and various things. So the subcommittee is working to get our hands around all the relevant information and pull together likely a recommendation for the whole school committee to consider. Hopefully in November maybe, but we'll see. There's a lot of steps between now and then, but we're trying to move fast. The other thing we talked about, which was referred quite a while ago, is whether or not it makes sense financially and practically, but more financially in our remit, to bring some of our transportation costs in-house. And specifically, we've been looking at whether or not our van pool contract is an area where we might be able to recognize savings. So we were joined by the Director of Transportation and Bobby for a conversation about what those costs look like, how many runs we're really talking about, what would it take, and it does seem like there is some opportunities to really reduce our costs, specifically in the van pool area, and Bobby and Tammy are pulling some more costing estimates together to see if that's going to bear out. There are a number of considerations around this, but the process is underway to see if this is an area where we can make a change and recognize some savings. The upside for us, and we've sort of been planning for this for a few years, is the contracts that we have now, we're going to need in order to meet our current demands and probably for the next few years, but they're designed in such a way that if we begin to take some of this contracted services in-house, it doesn't violate the contract. This is something we sort of consciously did because it's very hard to on day one say we're going to launch something new, right? So I think we'll have more of a phased-in approach that builds on some of the in-house transportation we already have, right? We're already doing some of this. So we had a really good conversation about that and what it might take. The other conversation that we had that was really great was with the CAPA director, Ben Rio, who joined us to talk about the district's infrastructure and its ability to meet the sort of city's goals around net zero carbon. He shared with us ahead of time a couple of studies. One was the 2021 Comprehensive Sustainability Plan for the city. The other was a review of 3 schools, elementary schools, done by JWA, which talked about sort of the pluses and minuses. It was a really good conversation. We got to ask him a lot of questions about the considerations, the financing models, the costing, and how his work connects back to our own strategic planning and discussions regarding school consolidation. And from my perspective, one of the interesting things I heard him say is that in his costing of what it would take for a new sort of consolidated K through 8 school would be so prohibitive, we'd be better off retrofitting our existing schools. Mind you, this is from the perspective of the net zero goal, but that's essentially the plan that we're on. We're sort of following the JWA plan to reduce the carbon footprints for Leeds and Jackson. Some really specific challenges around Bridge Street in order to get to net zero. But there are a lot of conversations we should have. I'll just leave you with, there's competing sort of, they're not even priorities because they're all priorities, but there are ways in which different initiatives and different priorities crash into one another and which decisions have to be made. And I'm hoping through that strategic planning process, we have some of those broader conversations. And I thought this was a great start at learning some more about what's happening on that side. So I know Cassie had sent out the recording. If you're interested in those things, please check it out. And I was really grateful that Ben came and that he was open to further dialogue. And I think that's it. Thanks.
Okay. Next.
Just want to add that it's really good to watch the videos at 1.5 times the speed. Gets you through the meetings pretty quick.
At 1.5 time. Thank you. Okay, rules and policy, 5 minutes.
So, we worked last time on we talked about parameters for the ad hoc committee for not the superintendent search, the cell phone policy. And Dr. Bonner has sent out today a notice on and various others soliciting input.
We can't hear Holly very well. I'm wondering
you
if-
don't have a mic
Sorry.
anywhere near you. Thank you for
Sorry.
letting us know.
Okay, thanks.
So I was talking about, we talked about the ad hoc cell phone policy and what type of participants that we would like to have, including parents, students, caregivers, CPAC, adjustment counselors, principals, teachers, a couple of school committee members, so teachers from the different levels. So those are what we're hoping to gather. Then we also worked on the student directory, just cleaning that up. That was done. The graduation competencies we are going to be working on this time. They have to be in by November or December?
December.
December. And administration has been working with Dr. Bonner to figure this out and what we'll be doing. So we'll be working, that's going to be our big ticket item this coming time. Think graduation competencies. Oh, and then we worked on the civil rights policies. So that's where we are.
Thank you. Oh, yes.
Sorry, did you mention the cell phone policy? And
Yes, an ad hoc cell phone policy.
ad hoc, yes, okay, perfect.
Yes, we're gaining members for that.
Awesome.
And curriculum and instruction has already been covered? Okay, terrific.
I just would like to put a plug in about watching. These things are really interesting. Watching the videos, and thank you, Cassie, for always putting them up the day after. It really is helpful. And it also gives you a sense of what's going on. But we did have it again today, so thank you.
Great, thank you. Holly, will you grab the mic again and give us an update on the superintendent ad hoc committee, superintendent search ad hoc committee.
Okay, that consists of me, Member Labonte, Member Agna, and we divided up various search agencies, including Ray and Associates, Hazard Young Attia, McPherson and Jacobson. I just found out about one that's Massachusetts-based called Ford Webb Associates, and then NESDAQ, the New England School Development Council. So we have requests out. We are getting proposals back in, and as we get them back in, we're going to divvy up and check references. We have a, where is it? School year copy. I think I had it, but now I can't find it. Well, we have a spreadsheet of various things to ask all the references. It's sometimes they don't give you the references, but it's nice to try to find schools that are sort of similar size. Massachusetts, with its open meeting law, you want to make sure that candidates are conversant with that. We have another meeting next, the 29th, is it? I believe. So that is where we are.
Great. Thank you for that work.
Brainstorm at graduation competencies.
Thank you. Okay, any future business? Okay.
I have something
Oh,
I'd like to talk about. So, given, all that has transpired and that we talked about tonight, I'd really like to better understand what the current family engagement structure is at the Northampton Public Schools. I understand we have a family engagement coordinator. Just as a baseline, I'd like to hear what we're doing right now, right? So that we can really think about how we're going to build that going forward.
Okay. Member Stein?
Yeah, I'd like to recommend that we task the Rules and Policy Subcommittee with coming up with a draft policy on bathroom signage and use. This comes out of a really frustrating situation at Bridge Street regarding some signage purchased by the PTO that was agreed upon, was installed in the spring, but the existing signing wasn't removed, in a strange sort of standoff regarding who knows what that can't seem to be resolved. I know a number of people have tried to resolve it in other ways, and it hasn't been. And I do fear that we may be violating some of our non-discrimination policies currently with the existing situation. So I would make a motion to refer the question of gender neutral bathrooms and bathroom signage to Rules and Policy to come back with some recommendations for us, because I think at this point the only thing that will provide clarity to resolve these issues is an actual district-wide policy or set of guidance.
That was a motion, yes?
Yes.
Okay, I would second that.
The motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
1 second.
Sure.
Can't hear Cassie.
Oh, she's not saying anything yet.
I'm silent. Mayor Shara?
Yes.
Member Gazy?
Yes.
Member Weisenfreund?
Yes.
Member Seraphy Cox?
Yes.
Member Stein?
Yes.
Member Hennessy? Yes. Member Miller?
Yes.
Member LaBounty?
Yes.
Member Agna?
Yes.
Member Davis?
Yes.
Okay. Moving on to future business dates. We've got Rules and Policy Subcommittee on September 17th from 5 to 6 on Zoom. Student Advisory Council on October 9th from 6 to 6:30, and that's hybrid.
What date was that?
So that's our next school committee meeting, so October 9th. So it's a Student Advisory Council meeting, so it starts at 6 here in the JFK Middle School and on Zoom, and then followed by the school committee meeting on October 9th, starting at 6:30, also hybrid. And the motion's been made
I second.
and seconded.
Discussion, this is a record.
This is actually there's no discussion
Yes,
allowed
there's-
on adjournment.
yes.
Okay.
You can comment after. Roll call, please.
Member Gazy.
Yes.
Member Weisenfreund.
Yes.
Member Seraphy Cox.
Yes.
Member Stein.
Member Stein.
Yeah, the meeting got,
I did that. I didn't realize I did it. I'm
Sorry.
Oops.
can we restart this? I
No.
mean,
I'm trying.
okay.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Margaret?
Gosh. That's hilarious.
Yeah,
I'll call Margaret.
well, at least.
Should we get their verbal?
Here, I'll
Put them on
Available.
speaker.
I mean, we do have a quorum to adjourn.
This is true.
True.
Yeah.
Here it is. Hold on. Back.
It's a little rude.
That's hilarious, but they're out. They were probably kicked out.
They're working on that, but we were just going to put you on
Yeah, tell them to sign back
microphone,
in.
so we were just in the middle of voting to adjourn.
ask you if you want to
Okay. Where are you at in the roll call, Cassie?
Michael Stein.
Ah, okay. I have Michael Stein. Okay,
Oh,
Michael
good.
Stein, do you vote to adjourn?
Yes.
Okay.
Member Hennessy.
Yes.
Member Miller.
Can't be
I
reached.
can't reach her.
Yeah.
Member LaBounty. Member Agna.
Yes.
Member Davis.
Imagine.
I
Okay.
won't make a comment. Let's record this as a record.
We're not done.
9:58.
Gosh.
Oh, is there somebody else?
Well, me, I don't think I,
Oh,
yes.
Oh, Mayor Shara.
Did we get everyone else?
Yes.
Did you get member sign?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. So we're adjourned.
Yes.
Awesome. Yay. Good job. Okay. Talk to you
Only
later.
4 hours.
Bye.
I don't know if we've ever.